A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, the secret
Anyone
word tonight...
falling asleep during the show will be thrown out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the secret word tonight is dust. D-U-S-T.
Really?
You bet your life! Elgin American, creator of America's most beautiful compacts, smartest cigarette cases, magic action lighters, finest dresser sets, presents Groucho Marx in the Elgin American show, You Bet Your Life. The comedy quiz series produced and transcribed from Hollywood. And here's that sterling Elgin American, the one, the only...
Groucho! He must be a kigme. Oh, that's me, Groucho Marx. Thank you. Well, here I am again with $1,500 for one of our couples here tonight. George, who's first?
We invited some bacteriologists to the show tonight, and just before we went on the air, our studio audience selected Mr. Frank Matuccio, and his partner is Mrs. Idella Manicera, who operates a bird hospital. Folks, meet Groucho Marx.
Welcome, folks, for Elgin American Compacts. And if one of you says the secret word, he wins a 16-millimeter Apollo Sound movie projector that sells for $129.50. It's a common word, something you see every day. Mr. Matuccio?
Yes.
You're the bacteriologist.
I am.
Where are you from? I'll call you Frank, eh?
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica, huh? And married?
Yes.
How long have you been married, Frank?
Oh, about 11 or 12 years.
What is a bacteriologist?
Oh, a bacteriologist is one who studies bacteria.
Well, what's bacteria? The rear door of a cafeteria?
Bacteria is a unicellular structure which exhibits some of the fundamental process of plant protoplasm.
That's very true, you know. You mind if I ask you another question?
Not at all.
What is bacteria? The rear door of a cafeteria? Mrs. Manicera.
Yes.
That's an odd name. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Is that, what is it, Spanish?
Italian.
Italian. Well, what does it mean in English? Does it have any English significance?
I was so busy getting the man that I didn't think to analyze the name.
Well, Idella, is that your first name?
Yeah,
Idella?
it is. My given name.
Your given name, eh?
Yes.
I guess somebody was glad to get rid of that name. You operate a bird hospital, huh?
That's right.
And you're a bird doctor, I take it.
Yes.
Can you stand on one leg and go to sleep? Well, you're a doctor, sort of. Maybe you can answer a question that's been bothering me for a long time. What is bacteria?
That's exactly what the doctor said.
Everybody seems to know but me, huh? For a bird doctor, you're pretty cagey, Idella. Well, tell me, Louis Pasteur, that's you. How did you meet your wife? Under a microscope, or?
No, I met my wife at a Eastern hospital. She happened to be the personnel clerk there, and she took down my.
Steady then.
Yeah. What I wanted to say was that she took my application,
Was it a hot application?
No, it was a pretty good application.
Do you have any youngsters, Doc?
No youngsters.
Does anything exciting ever happen around your laboratory?
Oh, not too much. I happened to listen to a baseball game one day, one of the World Series, over a stethoscope.
You listened to it over a stethoscope?
That's right. We couldn't hear the speaker loud enough at the time, so my chief, the pathologist, walked up to his office and came back with a stethoscope and placed it over the speaker of the radio and gave us the play-by-play account of the game from then on. So
I didn't think you'd be able to do that with a stethoscope.
Oh, yes.
Because most of the Brooklyn players didn't have any heart for this World Series. Well, tonight I'm learning quite a lot about birds and bacteria, and now I want you to have the perfect Christmas gift from our sponsor.
For Mrs. Idella Manicera, Elgin American's beautiful pearls. An ideal Christmas gift for any woman. They're the finest pearls made by man. I'm sure you'll enjoy them.
Thank you. They'll match everything I have.
And
what about Ducky here?
For Mr. Matuccio, an ideal Christmas gift for a man. Elgin American's popular cigarette case with today's smart leather-like look.
Oh, very nice. Now I can stop bumming cigarettes, I guess.
Now, Idella, what kind of birds do you doctor?
Well, we have all kinds. We have canaries and parakeets and cockatiels and parrots and minor birds.
Minor bird? Is that the bird that looks after the miners? That isn't John L. Lewis, huh? Now, do you ever treat any wild birds?
Yes, we treat wild birds. They're brought to us constantly.
What kind?
Well, all kinds. Mockingbirds and blackbirds and larks. Everything.
What do you do for a lark?
Well, we reduce the fractures if that happens to be the case.
You're just an old night owl, that's what you are. You just don't give a hoot, do you?
That's right.
What's the most unusual bird doctoring you've ever tackled?
I once had a pair of penguins brought to me.
You did, huh? I've led a very sheltered life. I've never had a penguin. What was the matter with them? Did they fall off a package of cool?
No, they fell from a cool place into a warm climate, and that gave them pneumonia.
They fell from a cool place into a warm climate?
Into a warm climate.
That's what eventually is going to happen to me, you know. Now tell me, Florence Nightingale, when you were a young girl, a real young girl, I mean, you're still a girl, but did you always dream of someday being a bird doctor?
No,
What did you want to be?
I wanted to be a physician. But when I was a girl, that wasn't being done. My parents threw up their hands in horror.
Mm-hmm.
So,
had they swallowed them? What a vulgar mind I have. In just 1 minute, you're going to work together as a team for $1,500. But first, listen to this.
Who said Santa Claus was one man with whiskers? He's every gent giving Elgin American compacts to his gal and sisters.
Lives there a woman with a bedroom to her name who doesn't long for an Elgin American dresser set to glamorize same?
And show me the man who wouldn't strut with a cigarette case and lighter by nobody but Elgin American.
Here's the gift inspirational for women and girls. Those gorgeous, sensational, simulated pearls by Elgin American.
What causes this great Elgin American preference? It's beauty, style, perfection with a difference.
And to keep all your Christmas shopping very budget nice, Elgin American gifts outvalue them all in price.
Yes, Elgin American gifts are first in fashion, first in value, first in the hearts of every man and woman on your list. So make this the Christmas to outdo them all. Give Elgin American.
Now then, let's see if you're going to be our winning couple and get the chance at the $1,500 question. Fenneman, tell them the rules.
Each of our three couples has $20. They bet as much of that 20 as they want on each of 4 questions. The couple that earns the most money gets a chance at the $1,500 question at the end of the show. Our other 2 couples are in a waiting room off stage, so they don't know what's going on out here.
Here we go. Let's see how high I can build you $20. You selected nicknames for college teams, right?
That's right.
What college how many you have $20? How much do you want to bet?
Well, 10.
10. What college team is known as the Indians?
Stanford.
Stanford is right.
And they're off down the field with $30.
You're going for $1,500 tonight. How much of your $30 will you try?
Well, 20.
20. What college team is known as the Mustangs?
Southern Methodist.
Southern Methodist is on the nose.
And now they have $50.
Here's your third question. How much of the 50 are you going to try?
40.
What college is known as the Vandals? Vandals.
Tennessee? No. Vanderbilt?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's where the big potatoes come from. It's Idaho.
Oh, Idaho. That's right.
They now have
Sorry.
$10.
Now you only have $10, and here's your last chance to beat the other couples. How much of the 10 do you bet?
Oh, we'll bet the works.
You bet the works. What college team is known as the Wolverines?
Michigan?
Michigan is correct.
And they'll wind up with a total of $20.
Thanks and good luck from Elgin American Compacts. Don't wander off now. No, you can still get the big question, you know.
Groucho, the secret word is still dust. Perhaps the next couple will say it. Just before we went on the air, our studio audience selected a mechanic and a woman driver. And here they are, Mrs. Hilda Mary Buss and Mr. Jack McDonald. Meet Groucho Marx.
Welcome, folks, to the Elgin American program. And if one of you says the secret word, he wins the 16-millimeter Apollo Sound movie projector instantly. It's a common word, something you see every day. Mr. Jack McDonald, huh?
Yes, sir.
You're a mechanic, eh? Are you married, Jack?
Yes, sir.
Any little wenches? I mean, any little wenches at home?
I have
Wrenches
two.
at home?
Two, sir.
How'd you meet your wife?
Oh, I was invited to a party one evening, and I was told I was to have a date with a girl by the name of Verna. When I got there, I found there was two Vernas, so I took my choice. And,
I hope you've quit that, though, huh?
yes, sir.
Where do you work, Jack?
Work for Mark C. Bloom, 6210 Sunset Boulevard. Open 24 hours a day. Good service.
What kind of a mechanic are you?
Garage mechanic.
You work on garages?
On cars.
Do you work on them or under them?
Under them.
Well, why do you work under the cars, huh?
That's where the work is.
Don't look now, but my clutch is slipping, huh? Now, Mrs. Buss, Hilda Buss, huh?
That's right.
Where are you from, Hilda?
I'm originally from River Falls, Wisconsin.
What is your husband's occupation?
Well, he's assistant vice president for the Equitable Life Insurance Company.
Mm-hmm. That's good business, the insurance business. Huh?
Well, I think so, and he does too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you?
Yes. I'm crazy about it. How'd you meet your husband, ma'am?
Well, I was selling men's real silk shorts door to door.
You were selling men's shorts? Do you model these things?
No. I met him in his private business office with a tape measure in one hand and a pair of orchid shorts in the other.
That's how you met him?
Yes, that's right.
And what did he do?
Well, I was trying to write up an order for him, and they come in the new 7-day pack. And,
What's a 7-day pack?
Well, Sunday is orchid, Monday is cardinal, Tuesday is Kelly green.
You mean you know people who change their underwear every day? Well, so?
Wednesday is champagne.
No,
Thursday is canary.
If Thursday is canary. I'll get that bird doctor back here.
Friday is salmon. Saturday is flesh color.
Flesh. What's that? No shorts at all? I suppose Sunday you spend all day washing, the other 7 days. Well, this is a whole new world you've opened to me, Hilda. Now tell me, leaky gasket, what's the most common type of repair job that you're called on to fix?
People come in with a trouble, they say. They got a knock and a rattle, but it's all in their head.
They got a rattle in their head? Well, what gives you the most trouble, men drivers or women?
Oh, man.
Why? Why is that?
A man, he comes in and he he knows all about it, you know. And a woman driver, she comes in and says, fix it.
Now, Mrs. Buss, is this true that women don't know anything about the car they drive?
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Well, you don't have to. He just said it. Let's see how much you know. For example, you've just stepped on the starter. Now tell me, what's going on under the hood?
Oh, it makes an awful roaring sound, and there's gas going through the generator and jumps into the spark plugs. And first thing you know, the spark plugs are sparking away, and pretty soon I start off the car.
Well, what is a microbe? Can you tell me? Now, Mrs. Buss, I'll give you one more chance. After you drive around a while, your motor heats up. Doesn't it, as a rule?
Uh-huh.
Now, tell me, what keeps your car from getting too hot?
Well, open the window.
I rest my transmission, huh? Now, we're very happy to have you both here. You've been a wonderful couple, and George has the perfect Christmas gift from our sponsor.
For Mrs. Buss, Elgin American's beautiful dresser set in jeweler's bronze with a look of gold. Notice that engraved floral design, Mrs. Buss. Isn't that lovely?
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you.
For our mechanic, Elgin American's exclusive heart-shaped compact that's definitely different. It's jeweler's bronze that looks like gold. His wife will truly appreciate it.
Beautiful.
All right, now let's play You Bet Your Life for $1,500. You run your $20 into more than our other couples, and you get a chance at the big question. I can't tell you how much the first couple won, but George is off stage to remind our listeners.
The bacteriologist and the bird doctor won $20.
Here we go. Let's see how high you can build your $20. You selected pictures on paper money as your category. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Here's your first question. You have $20. How much are you going to try?
15.
15. Whose picture is on the $5 bill?
Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, the old boy himself.
They're on their way with $35.
Remember, you're going for $1,500 tonight. How much of the 35 you going to try?
20.
30. No, 30.
You're going to try 30.
30.
Huh? Whose picture is on the $2 bill?
Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson is right, huh?
They're on their way. They have $65.
All right, you've got $65, and here's your third question. How much of the 65 you going to try?
60.
$60. Whose picture is on the $50 bill?
Grant.
General Grant is right.
They're really climbing now. They have $125.
All right, you're reaching the peak. You've got $125, and how much are you going to bet of the $125?
All of it.
125.
$125. Whose picture is on the $500 bill?
Harrison.
Harrison.
I'm sorry, it's William McKinley.
Kinley.
That was a tough one. You gambled and you lost. Going to give you a chance to make yourselves $10 richer. It's not going to be easy, so concentrate. You ready? What animal do you find on a buffalo nickel?
Buffalo.
A buffalo is right. Thanks and good luck from Elgin American Compacts. Now, in just 1 minute, our last couple will play the Elgin American game, and then we know who gets the $1,500 question. Right now, here's something all Christmas shoppers should pay attention to.
Don't tell me your Christmas shopping is done. How on earth do you know what to buy? Me, I hunt and I shop till I'm ready to drop. Get so confused I could die.
Save your time, disposition, and money, too, where they sell Elgin American Compacts. They're perfect. They're smart. Solve your list from the start. Do as I do. Buy easily. Relax.
Yes, that's how to simplify your shopping and still give beautiful gifts. Buy Elgin American Compacts for all the women on your Christmas list. They'll be thrilled with the elegance and perfection Elgin American stands for. You'll be delighted with the values. Priced from just $3.95. $2.95 for American Beauty Companion Compacts. Whatever you pay, even for sterling silver or 14-karat gold, you'll give the best gifts at the best price with the best compacts made. By Elgin American.
All right, it won't be long till we know who's going to earn the chance at the $1,500 question. George, who's ahead so far?
The bacteriologist and the bird doctor are leading with $20. And the secret word is still dust. Just before we went on the air, our studio audience selected a young couple who are about to be married. And here they are, coming in from off stage. Miss Jackie Hawk and Mr. Don Peckoff meet Groucho Marx.
Welcome, kids, for Elgin American Compacts. And if one of you says the secret word, he wins a 16-millimeter Apollo sound movie projector instantly. It's a common word, something you see every day. Pretty classy-looking couple, I'd say. So you two are getting married, eh? Don Peckoff, that's you. Huh?
Yeah.
When is the big day, Don?
Oh, it'll be a week from Sunday.
Week from Sunday, huh? How old are you, Don?
I'm 25.
And Jackie Houck. Houck, is that right?
Yes,
Soon it'll be Jackie Pickoff, huh? How old are you, Jackie?
20.
20, huh? I presume you realize that marriage is a serious business, Don.
Yes, I do.
Would you be able to support Jackie on your income?
Oh, yes.
Are you as sure of that as he is, Jackie?
Yes. In fact, we've already worked out a budget.
Oh, you dreamers in for a surprise. Where do you work, Don?
I work at Orbach's.
Is that a second-hand store?
No? No, it isn't.
Well, I'm sorry. I wish it was. I want to buy a second-hand for my watch. What do you do at Orbach's?
Oh, I work in the boys department. I sell clothing for kids from 4 to 20, and once a week I take stock. And
have you ever been caught at it? And Jackie, where do you work?
I also work at Orbach.
You work at Orbach. How did you meet this fellow, in the bargain basement? How'd you meet him, Jackie?
Well, I was out with a friend of his, and we wound up the same place during the course of the evening.
Where?
And the Hobnob, Beverly Hills.
Who were you with?
A friend of his. I said
Don't even remember his name?
Stanley.
Stanley, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And?
And
well... you came in?
Oh, I came in a little later. And
who were you with?
I was with a girl named Merle.
And what happened?
Well, I went home at 12:30. Stanley took me home, and Donald picked me up at 1:45.
Why, you little sneak, you, huh? Now, look, I'm a little past that period, but how did he transmit this message to you that he was going to see you after you had stashed away this other guy, huh?
Well, we had a chance to talk between songs.
I see.
Between
And Stanley
Cokes.
wasn't looking, and he
That's right.
quick slipped him the info, huh?
He went out to get more Cokes.
Shows you, man should never leave the room. What do you do at the store, Jackie?
I'm a rapper.
A rapper?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty snappy-looking rapper. And how far from Jackie do you operate?
Oh, about 2 minutes by the escalator, 2.5 minutes by the elevator, and 4 minutes by the stairs.
There must be a faster way, isn't there?
I haven't hit on it if there is.
Have you tried squeezing in one of those little change boxes that they shoot along?
Try that
No,
next
I
time.
haven't.
How did you shop around before you decided that Don was the best boy, Jackie?
Oh, I went out on dates. Went out with quite a few fellas, I guess.
Before Escalator Eddie popped the question here, did anybody else ask you to get married in addition to your mother? Couple? Did she lean over the counter and kiss you when you proposed?
No.
She didn't give you a counter proposal, huh? Who's going to handle the money after you marry, Jackie?
He will, I guess.
Is this all settled? Do you agree on that, Don?
Oh, we're not particularly concerned about money. Well, it doesn't matter.
No, really, it's of no importance, money, huh? And that is, unless you want to eat or something like that. Looking for a room or something. What's your ambition in life, Don?
I guess my first ambition is to get myself out of debt.
Well, after you're 65, what's your ambition, huh? Are there any opportunities for advancement there at Orbach?
Oh, yes.
You contemplate staying there?
Well, I plan on going to law school in the fall.
Then you're going to sue Orbach, is that it? Well, if you two can stand me for 5 minutes, you'll have no trouble standing each other, I'm sure. I wish you both every happiness, and I know you're going to have a wonderful time together. Now, George Fenneman has your perfect Christmas gift from our sponsor.
For Jackie, this lovely sterling silver compact with 14-karat gold engraving, an Elgin American, of course.
Thank you.
And for Don, Elgin American's hand-engraved sterling silver cigarette case that holds 20 regular or 16 king-size cigarettes. Something you'll always be proud of, Don.
That is really nice.
Now you're going to play your bet your life. If you beat our other two couples, you'll get a crack at the $1,500. I can't tell you how much they won, but George is off stage to remind our listeners.
The bacteriologist and the bird doctor are still ahead with $20.
All right, here we go. You have $20. Let's see how high you can build it. You selected songs with sweet in the title. Is that right? Now you have $20. How much are you going to bet? $10. Give me the title of this sweet song. Play, Jerry.
Sweet Leilani.
Bo-bo-bo-bo.
Sweet Leilani is right. And they're on their way with $30.
Oh, you got $30. Remember, you're going for $1,500 tonight. How much of the 30 are you going to try?
$20?
$20. All right, what's the name of this song?
Sweet Sue.
Sweet Sue. Sweet Sue.
They're on their way.
Sweet Sue.
They're on their way. They have $50, Groucho.
They have $50, Georgie. Well, here's your third question. How much of the 50 are you going to try?
40.
$40. All right, let's see if you can identify this song. Okay, Jerry.
Sweet and Lovely.
Sweet and Lovely is right.
They're climbing now, Groucho. They have $90.
Hey, don't guess quite so quick. We have a fortune tied up in these musicians. Let them play 8 bars, will you? Now you've got $90, and here's your last chance to beat the other couples. How much of the 90 are you going to try?
All of it.
Well, we have 90.
You have $90.
80?
85.
$85. That's known as the Missouri Compromise. $85.
$5 to go home.
Give me the title of this sweet song.
Sweet Sue.
Georgia Brown.
And they wind up with $175, and that means that they get a chance at the $1,500 question. And now, a word from Myron Wallace.
Perfection is the word for Elgin American's handsome lighter case. A lighter and cigarette case combined in one handy accessory. The lighter lights automatically when the cigarette case clicks close. Buy your Elgin American lighter case from $19.95 or its companion American Beauty lighter case from $9.95. Tomorrow, ask your dealer for surefire lighter cases by Elgin American.
And here's the winning couple, Groucho, the engaged couple.
Well, back again to try for $1,500, eh? Good luck. I'll give you 15 seconds to decide on a single answer between you, so talk it over thoroughly and no help from the audience. Please. Recently, a 7-foot statue of the Mormon leader who founded Salt Lake City was erected in the Capitol in Washington. What is the name of this great Mormon leader? All right, what is the answer you two have decided upon?
Oh, I think of as Brown.
No, I'm sorry. It's Brigham Young. It's Brigham Young. That's a shame. That's a shame. So that means the big question next week will be worth $2,000. Well, you lost the big money, but you received those lovely gifts from Elgin American, and you won $175. Congratulations, and thanks to both of you.
The Elgin American Show, You Bet Your Life, is a John Goodell production. Transcribed from Hollywood, directed by Bob Dwan and Bernie Smith. Music by Jerry Fielding. Remember, next week's big question pays $2,000. Be sure to tune in again next Wednesday night at this time for You Bet Your Life, starring Groucho Marx, presented by the creators of America's most beautiful compacts, smartest cigarette cases, magic action lighters, and finest dresser sets, Elgin American.
Good night, folks. Have you looked at your compact lately? And if you don't care for music, listen to George Burton sing in just 1 hour. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, the secret word tonight is tree. T-R-E-E.
Really?
You bet your life. The DeSoto Plymouth Dealers of America present Groucho Marx in You Bet Your Life, the comedy quiz series produced and transcribed from Hollywood. And here he is, the one, the only...
That's logical. This is National Pickle Week. Oh, that's me, Groucho Marx. Thank you. Well, here I am again with $1,000 for one of our couples. George Fenneman, who's first to try for it?
Just before we went on the air, our studio audience selected the mother of a large family and an expectant father. And here they are, Mrs. Lois Mayer and Mr. Charles Weiss. Meet Groucho Marx.
Welcome, folks, for the DeSoto Plymouth dealers. And if you say the secret word, you'll divide $100 in cash. It's a common word, something you see every day. Mrs. Marr, Lois Marr, you're the mother of a large family?
Yes, I am.
Pretty young-looking gal, aren't you? How large is your family?
I have 8 children.
You have 8 children?
8 children.
Well, you certainly don't look it. And Mr. Weiss, you're the expectant father?
Yes, sir.
You don't look it either. Do you have any other children, Mr. Weiss?
No, sir, this is my first.
Oh, your first, eh? Well, you better rest a while. The first one is the hardest. Where are you from, Mr. Weiss?
I was born in New Haven, Connecticut, raised in Newport, Rhode Island, moved to New York, and then came out here about a year and a half ago.
Who was after you? And Mrs. Marr? What does your husband do for a living, Mrs. Marr?
Well, we just started catering not so long ago.
To each other? Well, where are you from, little mother?
I'm from Leona Mines, Virginia, and I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio after I was married, and then we came to California.
Is that the customary route? Now, tell us something about this catering you mentioned. What sort of a business is it, specifically?
Well, we put on dinners for parties.
Any particular kind of food, or just...
Whatever you choose.
I see. Well, I choose the food after I eat it, but... What do you charge for a dinner like that?
It's according to what you're going to eat.
You're pretty cagey, aren't you, huh? Well, approximately, Lois.
Oh, anywhere from $1.50 to $2.50 a plate.
And suppose you put something on the plate. How much extra? I'll just call you Charlie, not you, Mrs. Moore. I mean you. What sort of work do you do, Charlie?
I'm a sales representative for America's #1 television set, Admiral.
Did you just make that up? Could you get me one wholesale?
Come around.
Does anybody ever buy anything retail anymore? Huh? How old are your children, Lois?
Oh, I have them all ages.
You got one around 79? What do you mean, all ages?
No, 15, 13, 12, 9, 7, 6, 4, and 8 months.
You just got under the wire there with that. With a family your size, Lois, how large a hotel do you run?
We have 4 bedrooms.
How do you get them all out in the morning? I mean, do you put them on a conveyor belt? Or...
Well, hardly like that. I have 5 boys and 3 girls. And I wake the oldest girl up first, and the baby wakes up instead of the oldest girl. And I go around yelling, 7:15, 7:15.
Suppose it's 8 o'clock. Do you still yell at 7:15? How do you discipline the youngsters?
Oh, they're pretty well behaved most of the time.
You never take a swipe at them?
Only in self-defense.
Did you have trouble finding names for all these kiddies?
No, we have a book at home.
Well, Lois, my advice to you is it isn't too late. Throw the book away. How about you, Mr. Weiss? Have you got a definite name for your youngster?
Yes, we have.
You are? What are you going to name it, huh?
We don't know yet.
Well, that sounds pretty definite, huh? Sounds like an Indian name, huh? What is the kid's name? We don't know yet, Jones. Huh? What do you mean you have a definite name, but you don't know yet? Why,
Well, we don't know what
why,
it'll be.
Charlie Weiss, what kind of talk is that, huh?
We don't know what it'll be yet.
You mean there's a likelihood that it may have wings and fly out the window? Which would you prefer, Charlie, a boy or a girl?
Well, it doesn't make much difference to us as long as it's a baby.
Why do you want a baby?
Well,
what an odd thing to wish for, huh? Well, after we're through here, talk to Mrs. Moore about it. Maybe she can get it for you wholesale. Well, it's been very instructive talking to you two, and I hope you'll both be very happy. Now, in just 1 minute, you're going to play You Bet Your Life for $1,000.
To millions of car owners across this nation, the sign of a DeSoto Plymouth dealer stands for two things: the best in new car values, the best in service. Next time you're at a DeSoto Plymouth dealer's for service, make it a point to find out about the two truly great new cars he sells. One is the brilliant new DeSoto, the car that's really new, inside and out, bringing you more beauty, economy, and comfort. The moment you see the new DeSoto, you'll note its clean, modern design, the graceful new lines that sweep back from its magnificent new full-width front grille to its smart, roomy trunk. It's a thrilling car, this all-new DeSoto, the car that lets you drive without shifting. And remember, all dealers who sell DeSoto also sell the beautiful new Plymouth, the car that likes to be compared.
Now, let's see if you two will be high for the night and get the chance at the $1,000. Fenneman, explain the rules.
Each of our three couples has $20. They bet as much of that 20 as they want on each of four questions. The couple that earns the most money gets a chance at the DeSoto Plymouth $1,000 question at the end of the show. Our other two couples are in a waiting room off stage, so they don't know what's happening out here.
Here we go. Let's see how high I can build you $20. You selected mountain peaks of the world as your category. Is that right?
That's right.
Now, here's your first question. You have $20. How much will you risk?
$10.
All right. Where is Mauna Loa found? M-A-U-N-A, capital L-O-A.
In the Hawaiian Islands.
The Hawaiian Islands is right.
We're off to a good start, Groucho. They have $30.
All right. Remember, you're going for $1,000 tonight. Now, how much of the 30 will you try?
25.
25. In what country is Popocatépetl found?
In Mexico.
Mexico is correct.
They're climbing. They have $55.
You got $55, and here's your third question. How much of the 55 do you want to try?
50.
Where is Mount Everest found?
Oh, Everest in Tibet.
They're really climbing now. They have $105.
105. 105.
You're going to shoot the whole
We'll
thing?
shoot the works.
All right. Here's your last chance to beat the other couples. Where is Mount Vesuvius?
Mount Vesuvius is in Italy.
All right.
And they wind up with a grand total of $210.
Thanks and good luck from the DeSoto Plymouth dealers.
Groucho.
Yes.
The secret word is still tree. Perhaps the next couple will say it.
They might.
Just before we went on the air, we selected a housewife from the audience.
A good idea.
Her name is Mrs. Mary Ann Hughes.
A splendid notion.
And a hypnotist, Mr. Fred Schneider. And here they are. Folks, meet Groucho Marx.
Welcome to You Bet Your Life. And if you say the DeSoto Plymouth secret word, you'll divide $100 between you. It's a common word, something you see every day. Mr. Schneider, you're the hypnotist?
Yes, I am.
Well, don't look me in the eye when you answer me. Somebody has to stay awake around here. Now, Mrs. Hughes, Marion Hughes, huh? Marion Hughes and Repented Leisure. Isn't that the, what they say? No, I guess not. You're the housewife?
Yes, I am.
Well, you're a very attractive housewife, huh?
Thank you.
What does your husband do, Mrs. Hughes?
Well, he works for Foodcraft.
Foodcraft?
Mm-hmm. He sells pickles.
How did you meet him? Was he pickled at the time?
No, he wasn't old enough to be pickled when I met him.
How old do you have to be pickled? Well, how did you meet him, huh?
Well, I met him in a blacksmith shop in Illinois. He was molding a brand for his pony, and he had heated the iron, and he had formed the letters M-A-X, and he put them in this big tub of water.
because they were hot.
Was that the pony's name or your husband?
No, that was his name. He was going to brand his pony, Max.
What was the pony's name?
I don't know. I don't.
Didn't the pony have a name?
Well, I didn't ask him. I don't know.
Don't you think it was rather unfair to the pony to...
I'm sorry. I should have asked the pony.
Well, there you are with the pony and Max and the...
I hadn't noticed my husband very much. I mean, he put the brand in the tub of water, and a devil's horse came flying by, and
What's that?
A devil's horse?
A devil's horse?
Uh-huh.
Was he getting shoed, too, in the black? What's a devil's horse?
Well, those huge varmints they have back east. They fly through the air, and they look like a little horse, only they're an insect. And if they bite you, it's just sure death, they say.
Who are they? I mean, I've always wanted to track that down, they say.
Well, that's what I've heard all my life, and I saw this coming at me, and I didn't like it. Well, I got excited, and I fell over in this tub of water on the top of this brand. And I got branded.
Isn't it a little embarrassing to walk around the bathing beach with Max stamped on you? Huh?
No, it really isn't noticeable at all.
So I still don't see how this culminated in marriage. The mere fact that you were named Max at the time. Matter of fact, all three of you were named Max by this time. But what about you, Eye Strain? What kind of a brand do you carry? Are you married?
Yes, I'm married.
Some hypnotist. She caught you napping, eh? Tell me, Svengali, what are some of the uses for hypnotism?
Well, it's being used a great deal medically today, especially through this last war. Mm-hmm. Such things as overcoming and removing phobias, bad habits.
Could you hypnotize me and cure me of my insomnia?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, I think so.
I doubt it. I don't have insomnia. I just can't sleep at night, that's all. Could you hypnotize me and cure me of smoking cigars?
Well, any ordinary person you could hypnotize.
Answer my question. Can you hypnotize me?
Well, I don't know. I have to try it first.
Well, flattery will get you nowhere. I guess I'm safe in ordering another box of cigars. Can you show me how to hypnotize somebody? Try it on Mrs. Hughes here. Huh?
Sure, I'd be glad
Mrs. Hughes, do you mind if he hypnotizes you?
Oh, I don't think I like that.
Oh, you don't want to give up smoking cigars either. Huh? Well, how do you hypnotize somebody? What's the first step?
Well, the first step is to get their attention, have them concentrate on your voice, and then have them think of figures or numbers. As you count, for instance, to 5, they'll go deep asleep. Then you begin counting 1, tell them to relax and grow heavy, their legs and their arms. 2, they're growing very
Are you trying to give me the double whammy here?
Well, I wasn't trying very hard.
Can you hypnotize a whole audience?
A large portion of a whole audience. I did a demonstration at the Long Beach Municipal Auditorium several years ago. Mm-hmm. There were about 3,500 people there, and several hundred actually went to sleep.
Did it ever occur to you that perhaps the show was lousy? Well, now that everybody's in a trance, let's play You Bet Your Life for $1,000. You run your $20 no more than the other couples, and you get the big chance. I can't tell you how much our first couple won, but Fenneman's off stage to remind our listeners.
The expectant father and the mother of 8 children won $210.
Here we go. Let's see how high you can build your $20. You selected American Patriots as your category. Is that right? Now, here's your first question. How much are the 20?
Yes.
What was the name of the American statesman who said, give me liberty or give me death?
Patrick Henry.
Patrick Henry is right.
They're on their way with $30.
Remember, you're going for $1,000 tonight. How much of the 30 will you try?
25.
25. What was the name of the soldier and statesman who avenged the Alamo at San Jacinto?
Was it Sam Houston?
Sam Houston is correct.
They're on their way now. They have $55.
And here's your third question. And how much are the 55?
50.
What was the name of the patriot in charge of the Boston Tea Party? He also signed the Declaration of Independence.
Sam Adams.
Samuel Adams is correct.
Now they have $105.
This gal has read a number of books. Here's your last chance to beat the other couples. How much are the 105?
100.
100. What was the name of the woman who supposedly said, shoot if you must this old gray head, but spare your country's flag?
Jane. Wasn't Bessie? No.
I'm terribly sorry. It was Barbara Fritchie. Well, that's tough luck. You bet all your money and wound up broke. I'm going to give you another chance to make some money. Get this one right, and you win $10 in cash. Now, think hard. Who was buried in Grant's tomb?
Grant.
General Grant is right. Thanks and good luck from the DeSoto Plymouth dealers. Now, we'll soon know who gets the chance at the $1,000 question.
Mr. Car Owner, what have you done about the warmer weather that lies ahead?
I'm sending my long underwear to storage.
But what about your car? Is it all set for the miles of pleasant motoring? Can you count on it for smooth operation on vacation and during those summer weekends? Better visit a DeSoto Plymouth dealer real soon. Let his service experts tune up your car.
Bring in your violin, too.
You see, friends, a car that's been checked by DeSoto Plymouth mechanics will zoom along the road and purr like a cat.
May even drink milk. So take the man's advice, folks. Bring your car, your violin, and your cat in wherever you see the sign of a DeSoto Plymouth dealer. All right, Fenneman, who's ahead in the battle for the $1,000 question?
Well, the mother of 8 children and the expectant father are ahead with $210. And the secret word is still tree. We invited some boxers and some ballet dancers to the program tonight. And just before we went on the air, our studio audience selected Miss Patty Taylor and Mr. Art Aragon. And here they are, folks. Meet Groucho Marx.
Welcome, youngsters, for the DeSoto Plymouth dealers. And if you say the secret word, you'll divide $100 between you. It's a common word, something you see every day. A boxer and a ballet dancer, eh? Which are you?
I'm the boxer.
You're the boxer, huh? What is your name? Art Aragon, eh?
Yes.
Where are you from, Art?
I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh. Before we proceed, let me caution you. On this program, you're liable to hear bells occasionally, Art. Don't come out swinging if you do. What is your fighting weight, Art?
135 stripped.
Did you say strapped or stripped? Now, how much do you weigh with your clothes on?
I don't know. I never weigh with my clothes on.
You must draw a nice crowd when you get way at the end. Are you married, or haven't you lost a fight yet?
I'm married, but we don't fight at home.
You don't, huh? In the morning, does your wife have to count to 9 before you'll get up? Huh? What about you, Twinkle Toes? Let's find out something about you. You're a ballet dancer, huh?
Yes.
Where are you from? What is your name? Fifi? Patty, huh?
Patty Taylor.
Are you married?
No, I'm not married.
You're not married, huh? For a ballet dancer, apparently you're not on your toes. Let's see you get up on your toes.
In these shoes?
Hmm.
You'd need toe shoes for that.
How you have toes, huh?
About 10.
Did you say you were about 10?
No, 18 now.
Well, you just said 10.
10 toes.
Oh, 10 toes, but you're 18.
Yes.
Could be worse, you know. You could be 10 and have 18 toes. I knew a girl like that once. She was really 2 girls, but I don't want to know. Now, one punch. How do you train for a big fight?
Well, let's see. I get up at 6:30 in the morning. I go run. I come back and I go to bed.
Wouldn't it be simpler to just stay there in the first place? Once you're up, why don't you stay up?
Well, that's not all of the training. I got a little bit more.
There is? What else?
Well, I get up at 10 o'clock and I eat my breakfast. Then I go back to bed.
You must have a fortune tied up in pajamas. Then what do you do?
Well, I go train in the gym for a couple of hours, then I go home and go to bed. That's true. Then I get up about 5 o'clock and I eat my dinner, go out and take a walk, and I come home and go to bed.
You don't see much of the outside world, do you? Why do you do all that work? Why is there so much sleeping and jumping up and down?
Well, how do you want to get in top shape?
Top shape? Well, who wants to be shaped like a top? Now, what are the first things you have to learn about ballet, Patty?
Well, the first thing would be the 5 basic dance positions.
And what are the 5 basic dance positions?
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Well, you ask a ridiculous question, you get a ridiculous answer. On the other hand, Aragon only has 2 positions. Vertical and horizontal. Could you describe the first dance position, Patty?
Well, position number 1, you have your feet together, your heels together, and your toes pointed outwards, and push your heels forward.
Well, that sounds pretty simple. It's okay. Now, what are some of the basic steps of the ballet?
Oh, there's tours jetés, pirouettes, glissades, assemblées, jetés, and entrechacatras.
What time do you stop at Nacogdoches? Isn't all that stuff Greek to you, Art?
It's French.
It's French. Well, all I can say is Vive la France! What qualifications are necessary to become a good ballet dancer, Patty?
Oh, most of the qualifications are physical. You should have a sturdy body and flexible and a slender figure. And it's good to have long legs, but it isn't necessary.
Well, the legs should certainly be long enough to reach the floor, Patty. Well, it's been very interesting talking to you two. Now, let's see how agile you are in the quiz. Now, you beat the other 2 couples, and you'll get a chance at the $1,000 DeSoto Plymouth question. I can't tell you how much the other 2 couples won, but Fenneman's off stage to remind our listeners.
The mother of 8 children and the expectant father are ahead with $210.
Here we go. Let's see how high I can build you $20. You selected sporting terms as your category. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, how much you want to bet of the $20?
10.
Talk right out loud into
10.
the microphone. Like the fight was over and you were saying, hello, Mom. Texas Liga is an expression in what sport?
Baseball.
Baseball is correct.
On the way, Groucho, with $30.
Well, you hit that over the fence. Remember, you're going for $1,000 tonight. Now, how much of the 30 will you try?
25? 25, she said.
25. A lob shot is an expression of what sport? L-O-B.
Oh, wait just a moment. A lob. It's tennis.
That's right, tennis.
Let's find it now. We have $55.
You got $55, and here's your third question. How much will you bet?
40.
Riposte, I guess, R-I-P-O-S-T-E, is a maneuver in what sport?
How do you spell it?
R-I-P-O-S-T-E.
You guess.
Post. Football?
No.
No, that's a tough question. It's fencing.
They now have $15.
That's a shame. All right, here's your last chance to beat the other couples. How much of the 15 will you try?
All of it.
All of it. A stymie is an expression of what sport?
That's easy, huh? I'm stymied. No, not Margaret. I'm stymied. You stymied a guy. Gee, that's simple.
Stymie. Thought it was marbles.
Well, I was thinking of golf, but I guess they have stymies and marbles. But I'd say you're right.
They wind up with $30, and that means the expectant father and the mother of 8 children with $210 get the chance at the DeSoto Plymouth $1,000 question. To serve you efficiently, to serve you promptly. Those are the aims of every DeSoto Plymouth dealer. No matter what make of car you drive, no matter what sort of attention it needs, a DeSoto Plymouth dealer is well equipped to give your car the very best in service. Skilled, factory-trained mechanics, the most modern tools and equipment made, service at a fair price, and prompt, courteous treatment every time. That's the kind of service you get when you drive in at the sign of a DeSoto Plymouth dealer. That's the kind of service that means extra miles for your car. From coast to coast, there are more than 3,000 of these DeSoto Plymouth dealers, each with an earnest desire to serve you. And here's the mother of 8 and the expectant father, the winning couple, all ready for the DeSoto Plymouth $1,000 question, Groucho.
Here we go for $1,000. Ready? I'll give you 15 seconds to decide on a single answer between you, so think carefully and please no help in the audience. Here it is. The Panama Canal, one of the great engineering feats of all time, would never have been possible if it weren't for the discovery of the Isthmus of Panama. For $1,000, tell me who discovered the Isthmus of Panama. All right, what is the answer you two have decided upon?
Balboa.
No, I'm sorry, but it was Christopher Columbus on his last voyage to the New World. Well, that's the correct answer, so that means the big question next week will be worth $1,500. Well, you lost the big money, but you won $210 in the quiz. Congratulations, and thanks to both of you.
You Bet Your Life is a John Goodell production, transcribed from Hollywood, directed by Robert Dwan and Bernie Smith. Music by Jerry Fielding. Be sure to tune in again next Wednesday night at this time for the Groucho Marx Show, You Bet Your Life, presented by the more than 3,000 DeSoto Plymouth dealers of America. And remember, all dealers who sell DeSoto also sell Plymouth. 2 great cars, both products of the Chrysler Corporation. And don't forget, next week, the big question will be worth $1,500.
So good night, folks, and remember, just be sure to see your DeSoto Plymouth dealer.
Folks, here's a tip from the National Safety Council. May is National Car Safety Month. So remember, check your car, check accidents. This is George Fenneman, signing off for the more than 3,000 DeSoto Plymouth dealers from coast to coast.
This is John Daly at the State House in Philadelphia. A powerful opponent of the Declaration of Independence has emerged here on this 4th evening of July 1776. An opponent strong enough to rally the latent opposition to separation from the mother country. Mr. John Dickinson, Pennsylvania's leading delegate to the Continental Congress, has just told reporters that he intends to speak on the floor before the final vote is taken. This in a supreme effort to block this declaration, which would commit our 13 colonies to revolutionary war with England. Mr. Dickinson agreed that he is staking his political future on the outcome of the vote. He anticipates that if he fails to block passage of the Declaration of Independence, he will be ejected from the Congress and be
July 4th, 1776, the State House in Philadelphia. You are there.
John Dickinson, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. CBS takes you back to the evening when the colonial leaders fought their showdown battle on the issue of independence from England, with the fate of the continent hanging in the balance. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there,
you are there.
You Are There is based on authentic historical fact and quotation. And now,
July 4th, 1776, the Philadelphia State House and John Daly.
Dining during the recess, which is now officially over. We hurried from the inn to this microphone here on the floor of the Congress to bring you this news. Mr. Dickinson has not arrived yet. He should be along at any minute, but meanwhile, the news has preceded him, and it's having an explosive effect on the delegates who are present. As a matter of fact, the weather isn't helping things either. It's very hot here in Philadelphia tonight, and in their heavy waistcoats, ruffles, and wigs, the delegates in the hall are perspiring profusely. Even more irritating are the horse flies from a nearby stable which come in through the open windows. These flies are nasty, so much so that Mr. Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, the author of the Declaration, has said that it is not at all unlikely that this debate will be ended not by sharp logic of the delegates, but by the even sharper bite of the horseflies. Major George Fielding Eliot has been talking to the delegates and is now ready with his analysis of the possibilities inherent in Mr. Dickinson's announcement. So I switch you now to our CBS headquarters booth here in the Congress. Come in, Major Eliot.
Mr. Dickinson's views carry great weight here. His announcement therefore comes as a shock to those delegates who want the Declaration of Independence passed. Mr. John Adams from the Massachusetts Bay Colony, leader of the Independence Party, had hoped the Declaration would go through unanimously, but that's no longer possible. Indeed, the Declaration may not even pass. Mr. Adams and Mr. Dickinson personify the present political conflict. Mr. Adams is the son of a Massachusetts lawyer. He was educated for the law in New England. He agrees with the men who dumped the East India Company's tea into Boston Harbor. Although Mr. Adams prides himself on being a plain man, the delegates regard him as arrogant and intolerant of all who differ with his views. Mr. Dickinson, on the other hand, was born to wealth. He received his education at London's Middle Temple. He has a mild, amiable, sincere manner. He opposes independence because of his conviction that all political injustices can be righted by legal methods without recourse to violence or revolution. Just a moment. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson have entered the hall. So, back to John Daly.
Mr. Jefferson! Mr. Jefferson!
Yes?
Mr. Jefferson, you've heard the news that Mr. Dickinson will speak against independence. May we have your comment?
I have the greatest respect for Mr. Dickinson's courage and integrity. Mr. Adams and I wish we could say as much for his political judgment.
This Congress, sir, is in no mood for any more of Mr. Dickinson's temporizing. In the course of this debate, the delegates have learned to know Mr. Dickinson for what he is. A spineless aristocrat at best, at worst an agent of the enemy.
Well, Mr. Adams, we're very glad to have your comment also. Are you accusing Mr. Dickinson of being in the pay of the British?
I hardly think Mr. Adams
if you
intended
please, Mr. Jefferson. Sir, Mr. Dickinson has consistently sabotaged the work of this body by fallacious appeals to reason and by parliamentary devices, but no more of that. The Declaration of Independence will be put to a vote as soon as President Hancock arrives and calls this meeting to order. And I am confident that the gentleman will be unable to sway the Congress from the course on which it is now well launched.
Thank you, Mr. Adams and Mr. Jefferson. The delegates are taking their seats. And as you must have gathered from Mr. Adams' remarks, the long smoldering enmity between him and Mr. Dickinson has finally flared out into the open. The debate, when he and Dickinson clash on the floor, promises to be more violent than any this Congress has heard in the 2 years since it's been in existence. Mr. Dickinson has just entered the hall, and he has to pass our microphone. He's coming this way now. Mr. Dickinson, sir.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Dickinson. Mr. John Adams has just called you an agent of the enemy, Mr. Dickinson. Would you care to
Mr.
make...
Adams considers anyone who differs with him to be an agent of the enemy. But I cannot allow myself to be silenced by insults. The question is, shall our colonies declare themselves independent of the mother country? And on this question, my opponents have been utterly dishonest.
Will you explain that, Mr. Dickinson?
Certainly will. 11 times in the past 2 years, Congress pledged itself not to seek independence. In January of this year, only 6 months ago, the Congress passed a most solemn declaration to the effect that we Americans have no thought of setting up an independent nation. And now, tonight, Mr. Adams asks us to break our pledged word. Nay, he demands it.
But if the people favor independence, Mr. Dickinson,
Mr. Adams has confused the people. He has engineered coups d'etats in the provincial legislatures in order to pack this Congress with delegates favoring independence. He has organized gangs of hoodlums to roam the streets of the cities and towns, attacking those who oppose revolution.
But isn't it true, Mr. Dickinson, that at least 50% of the population favors independence?
Is it right for one half of the population to impose its views on the other half by terror? Can these colonies hope to achieve victory in a revolutionary war when half of the people oppose it? I predict that if the Congress passes the Declaration of Independence, the result will be civil war, useless bloodshed, and ruinous defeat. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dickinson. The delegate from Pennsylvania is walking to his seat now. Mr. John Hancock, the president of the Congress, has entered the chamber, but it will very probably be a few moments yet before he calls the Congress to order. Mr. Dickinson said that a considerable portion of the people are opposed to independence. Well, Ken Roberts is outside the State House, where a representative crowd of Philadelphians are awaiting the result of the vote. So let's find out what they think about independence. Go ahead, Ken Roberts.
With me at our CBS microphone is Mrs. Agnes Hatcher, who lives on Water Street. Mrs. Hatcher, do you favor separation from England?
I hate separation. My husband was killed fighting for separation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's John Adams that should be sorry, and Mr. Jefferson. Why don't they make peace and end this killing?
But, Mrs. Hatcher, would you want peace at any price?
Will you tell me why my husband should die at Boston fighting the Bay Colony's battles? If the men of New England have a quarrel with the British, let them do the fighting and dying themselves.
But Mr. Adams and Mr. Jefferson say they want freedom for all the colonies.
I don't care about freedom. My husband is dead.
Thank you, Mrs. Hatcher. Now, here beside me is Mr. Richard Caswell, an importer in Philadelphia. I forgot to ask you, Mr. Caswell, what do you import?
The finest of English woolen, sir. The very finest.
I see. And do you favor independence? Excuse me, Mr. Caswell. A dispatch rider has just ridden up to the State House. His horse is lathered and covered with dust and sweat. It looks as if he's been ridden long and hard. Where are you from, soldier?
New York. General Washington's headquarters.
What's the news there? What's happening?
Plenty of excitement.
Wait a minute. What's going on? The rider has gone into the State House. Whatever the news is, our reporters inside will bring it to you as soon as it's released. I'm sorry about that interruption, Mr. Caswell.
Quite all right, quite all right.
You were about to tell me whether you favored independence.
It's an illusion, sir. Independent from what? How can we be independent? We're Englishmen, my family's English, they're all in England. Or my trade, my business is with England. Look at my books, you see. This talk about separation is ridiculous. Worse than ridiculous. It's vicious. It's ruining me. Ever since this war started, no shipments. Percentages, 76% less business than my firm did in 75.
But, Mr. Caswell, isn't it argued that if the colonies were independent, American businessmen could then trade with the entire world?
Who wants to trade with the entire world? What do we need the world for? Everything we can produce, we can sell in England. And everything that we need, we can buy from England. It's just common sense, that's all. How do you suppose the colonies have grown prosperous and strong and important? Protected trade with England. Protected trade.
Yes, but what about the heavy taxes that the mother country has imposed? What about taxation without representation?
Bad, very bad. But independence? Worse, much worse. Terrible. What about Pitt and Burke in Parliament? We have friends in England. They're trying to settle this thing intelligently, without violence, without bloodshed. But Mr. Adams and Jefferson, those wild men in there, hotheads, radicals, that's what they are. They want to get power, that's all, power. That's all they're interested in, power.
But, Mr. Caswell, independence is
Independence, the worst second. Listen to him. We've already become independent of principle and gratitude to the mother country.
What's he saying?
And if this war is permitted to continue, we shall become independent of cash, clothing, laws, liberty, and... Yes, life itself. What are you talking about? You're a liar, that's what you are, mister. You're a Tory. A Tory.
may not be popular, but it's the truth.
Shut up, you Tory, or we'll teach you a lesson.
I'm not afraid of you. Listen, close your mouth.
Captain has just been struck by some man who's been heckling him. The crowd here is manhandling Mr. Caswell. The men are flailing at him with their fists. They must be members of the Sons of Liberty. The women are tearing at Mr. Caswell's clothes and spitting at him. This crowd has gone wild, and it's frightening. Mr. Caswell has been knocked to the ground. I can't see him, but I can hear his cries. The men are bending over him, swinging their fists, pounding.
This is John Daly inside the Continental Congress. We have interrupted Ken Roberts because President Hancock has just called the Congress to order. He's about to read the dispatch which has just arrived from General Washington's headquarters in New York. President Hancock.
This is the information contained in General Washington's dispatch. The news is grim indeed. A great British fleet is at this moment in New York Harbor. British Marines have seized Staten Island in the harbor, and redcoats are landing there by the thousands. General Washington advises that a British attack on New York City must be expected momentarily. The enemy appears to have overwhelming superiority in numbers and equipment. General Washington concludes with a statement that it may be impossible to defend New York City with the slender forces at his command. Gentlemen, the Congress will recess for 5 minutes.
Congress has again recessed. The sound of President Hancock's gavel has released a torrent of excitement and confusion bordering virtually on panic. Delegates have risen from their seats. They are moving about the floor, talking to each other in loud voices, often shouting in their arguments. Mr. John Adams and Mr. Thomas Jefferson have rushed up to the chair. Mr. Adams is pale, agitated. Only Mr. Dickinson, of all the delegates here in the chamber, has remained seated. Mr. Rutledge. Just a moment, sir. Here's Mr. Edward Rutledge, a delegate from South Carolina. Sir, what effect do you think the news of the British arrival will have on the independence vote?
It cannot fail to have a profound effect. It will add force and logic to Mr. Dickinson's position.
Thank you, Mr. Rutledge. Mr. Rutledge is one of Mr. Dickinson's supporters. Here is Mr. Elbridge Gerry, a delegate from the Massachusetts Bay Colony and an independence man. Mr. Gerry, what do you think of the announcement, sir?
Frankly, I don't know what to think. Mr. Dickinson may well argue now that the Declaration of Independence may not be worth the paper it's written on. But we must keep our head. We must stand firm.
Thank you, Mr. Gerry. Major Elliott has more news from New York, so let's switch to him in our CBS headquarters booth. Come in, Major Elliott.
We now know that the British fleet numbers 130 vessels. The troops on board are commanded by General Sir William Howe, one of England's ablest generals. The appearance of the fleet has thrown New York into disorderly confusion, and the legislature has withdrawn for safety to White Plains, 35 miles away. Our New York newsroom informs us that a short while ago, CBS correspondent Ned Calmer passed through the British lines on Staten Island under safe conduct to interview the British commander-in-chief. He made a tape recording of this interview that our New York newsroom will play for you now.
This is the kitchen of a Staten Island farmhouse which now serves as General Howe's headquarters. A regiment of redcoats is on parade outside, marching to the music of a British military band. I can see them through an open window from where I'm standing. In their tight-fitting scarlet coats and long gaiters, these trim soldiers in perfect step to the music look like the veteran fighting men that they are. General Howe, sir, will you tell us how many such troops you have at your disposal?
14,000 on this island, and an additional 13,000 under General Carleton on their way across Lake Champlain in upper New York.
You don't mind giving General Washington this information?
Not at all, not at all. Frankly, I doubt very much that it will make any difference if Washington knows it.
I take it then, General Howe, that you're completely confident of victory.
Naturally. Those men you see out there, they are the conquerors of France and Spain. They are the finest troops in the world. They'll crush Washington's colonial militiamen at the very first encounter, utterly. But Washington, poor fellow, he's leading nothing but a rabble. They lack powder, guns. His officers are without experience. Washington himself is hardly what you might call, shall we say, a professional military man.
General Washington, sir, made quite a good showing in the war against the French.
Under English commanders, Mr. Calmer. Under English commanders. Mr. Calmer?
Calmer. General Howe, you know, of course, that the Continental Congress is about to vote on independence from England. Would you care to comment on that, sir?
Yes, I would like to say something to that.
I would like to say it as a friend and not as a soldier. I repeat, as a friend, because I think I have amply demonstrated my friendship for British America in the past, by word and deed.
Yes, if I recall correctly, General Howe, you once stated publicly that you would never lead British troops against British America.
Well, of course, but the situation has changed. The colonies are now being led by a pack of extremists. This rebellion by the mob must be crushed, and I have the forces with which to crush it. The greatest fleet and the most powerful force of soldiers ever assembled on American soil. I hope with all my heart that it will not be necessary to throw this array of military power into action. I pray that the counsel of the extremists will be rejected by the Continental Congress and that the advice of saner, more moderate men will prevail.
Thank you, General Howe.
This is George Fielding Elliott in Philadelphia. The interview you have just heard was a tape recording made by Ned Kelmer at British headquarters on Staten Island. The recess here in the Continental Congress continues. The delegates are confused, shaken. Mr. Adams, Mr. Jefferson, and Mr. Benjamin Franklin, the leaders of the Independent Party, are doing all they can to counteract the doubt and hesitation inspired by the news from New York. They are trying desperately to maintain their strength, to keep their pledged votes in line, and they are insisting that the final vote be taken tonight without regard for the situation in New York. On the other hand, a group of less militant delegates is urging postponement until we have more definite information from General Washington's headquarters. The Commander-in-Chief said in his dispatch that he fears that he may not be able to hold New York. The cautious delegates want to know for sure whether he will fight or surrender the city without a struggle. Our CBS correspondent, Bud Collier, is now at General Washington's headquarters. He may have some last-minute information. Therefore, we take you now to General Washington's headquarters in New York. Bud Collier reporting.
I'm waiting here on the parade ground before General Washington's headquarters. The Commander-in-Chief has promised to answer my question as soon as he comes out to address his troops, presumably to make some formal statement about the news of the British arrival. The bugles are blowing assembly. The men of the regiments are running to join their formations. I can see the flag of the 1st Massachusetts, I believe it is, the Virginia Rifles, the 5th Connecticut, and many others. But in all this mass of thousands of men, I see very few men in uniform. Most of the troops are dressed in civilian homespun, and quite a few of them wear the fringed leather shirts which mark them as frontiersmen. General Washington has still not come out on the parade ground. Oh, here's a militiaman coming by. Soldier! Soldier!
Let me go. I got pulled.
Oh, just a few questions. You got plenty of time. What's your name, son?
Tom Summers. Look, let me go, will you, mister? The sergeant will give me all...
That's all right. I'll fix it with General Washington for you. How old are you, Tom?
17.
Uh-huh. Ever seen any action against the British?
No, not yet.
Well, you'll probably see action soon right here in New York.
Well, I ain't afraid if that's what you mean.
How long have you been in the Army, Tom?
2 months. Look, please, mister, ask me all your questions at once.
All right, Tom, sure. How long are you in for?
Well, I'm going back home next month. That's when my 3 months are up.
Oh?
My pa enlisted me. He wanted to make himself $10.
I see.
Well, he got his $10, and I'm going home next month.
Uh-huh.
Well, there ain't nothing wrong with that, you know.
No.
Some fellas enlisted for the money and then deserted without even serving their 3 months.
Well, yes, but what about independence, Tom? How do you feel about independence?
Well, I don't know nothing about that, honest, mister. Oh, there's the general. I gotta go.
General Washington is approaching the microphone. He wears his full-dress uniform. His sword flaps against the side of his leg as he walks. General Washington, are you going to fight for New York?
It is a difficult question. Frankly, I haven't made up my mind.
If you elect to fight, General Washington, do you think you will be able to defend New York successfully?
I will do my best, and God willing, we shall be successful. In any event, I would like to say to all the people, do not yield to panic.
But, General, in view of the current situation, do you think the Declaration of Independence should be passed at this time?
That must be decided by the Congress in Philadelphia.
Thank you, General Washington. Commander-in-Chief is walking away across the field now, his shoulders slightly bent, his jaw thrust forward in the manner of a man who bears an enormous responsibility for which he is ill prepared. This is Bud Collier in New York I return you now to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia.
This is John Daly at the Continental Congress in Philadelphia. This is the long-awaited climax of the debate on the Declaration of Independence. The Congress has reconvened, and because Mr. Dickinson asked to speak against the Declaration, Mr. Adams has also requested the floor. By agreement, the vote will take place when the two speakers have finished. Also, by agreement, before the session began, Mr. Adams is speaking first. He's exerting his utmost efforts to keep the votes pledged to independence from bolting to Mr. Dickinson. Will he succeed? Well, we'll only know when the vote is taken. And now let's listen to Mr. Adams.
By proclaiming a Declaration of Independence, gentlemen, this Congress will be giving official recognition to a fact which already exists, namely, that these colonies are actually, in fact, independent of England. Yet, some great brains counsel us to wait, to exercise caution. Do these cautious gentlemen plead for a postponement of a Declaration of Independence so that their Tory friends may have time to hatch plots and conspiracies against us? Gentlemen, to delay is to play into the hands of the enemy, defeating the cause for which so much blood has already been shed. There must be no further delay. The people are ready. The people wait for the Congress to lead them. The hour has struck. The Congress must proceed now to a vote, an affirmative vote, on the Declaration of Independence.
Mr. Adams has left the rostrum. Mr. Dickinson is coming up to speak. Dickinson's face is pale. His fists are clenched. He's clearly marshaling all of his strength for a supreme effort of oratory. He's waiting now for the Congress to come to order. Mr. Dickinson.
Mr. President, I accuse my opponents of cynicism. They cannot believe that these colonies will be able to endure as independent states. Their true goal is not independence. They exploit indignation against the mother country to further their own personal fortune. Mr. President, my opponents make their appeal to the emotions. I make my appeal to intelligence and logic. Mr. President, British troops are on Staten Island in overwhelming force. They are about to attack New York. General Washington's task will be difficult at best, but a Declaration of Independence now will serve only to divide the people of New York and make the defense of that city hopeless. Pass the Declaration and you will set brother against brother, father against son. The colonies will become not only the scene of warfare with a mother country, but civil war as well. And in the bloody, senseless, fratricidal struggle, there is no possibility of success. Proclaim independence this evening, gentlemen, and you gain nothing. You merely invite the whirlwind of destruction. I urge you to vote against it. I beg, I plead, I beseech you, vote against independence.
Mr. Dickinson's plea has been received without applause. The delegates are calling the question, and there seems to be no objection. Oh, but wait a minute. Several of the delegates have risen. However, they're not going to ask for the floor. These delegates are leaving the hall. 4, 5, there go 3 more. Others are leaving also, and I can recognize some of them as men who have been openly undecided. Apparently, they're unwilling to vote, caught on the horns of a dilemma, swayed, no doubt, both by Mr. Adams and Mr. Dickinson. This is a great, a fearful moment of decision. Some of these men are apparently not capable of facing up to it. President Hancock.
Embodying the Declaration of Independence. The vote will be by colonies, each colony voting as a unit. A majority will decide. The clerk will call the roll.
12 votes will be cast. New York has decided to abstain, thus 7 votes will carry the issue.
New Hampshire, Mr. Josiah Bartlett.
New Hampshire votes unanimously for independence.
Massachusetts, Mr. John Adams.
The Patriots of Massachusetts vote unanimously for independence.
Rhode Island, Mr. William Ellery.
Independence.
Connecticut, Mr. Roger Sherman.
Independence. Unanimous.
New Jersey, the Reverend Dr. Witherspoon.
Mr. President, in my judgment, the country is not only ripe for independence, but is in danger of becoming rotten for want of it. New Jersey votes unanimously for independence.
Pennsylvania, Mr. Benjamin Franklin.
The majority of the delegation from Pennsylvania votes for separation from England, so help us God.
Delaware, Mr. Caesar Rodney.
Delaware votes unanimously for independence.
The Declaration of Independence is passed. Delaware has cast the deciding vote. There is no reaction from the delegates, and the voting continues. It will very probably be unanimous by colonies. Many of the individual delegates are shaking their heads. However, no matter what may be said against the Declaration, this document is impressive. It reads well. It begins, when in the course of human events change is necessary, and then continues, and I quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
July 4th,
these rights,
1776. John Dickinson loses his fight to block the Declaration of Independence, and the 13 colonies go forward to establish the United States of America.
This is John Daly in the radio newsroom of the United States Senate, just across the hall from the galleries of the Senate chamber itself. In less than half an hour on this historic and eventful morning of the 16th of May, 1868, Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, may be removed from office, convicted of high crimes and misdemeanors. In less than 30 minutes, the people of the United States may have a new president, the Honorable Benjamin Wade, Senator from Ohio and President of the United States Senate. The hour of decision is at hand. At the stroke of noon, Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase will mount the rostrum, reconvene the Senate as a court of impeachment, and each senator in turn will cast his vote.
May 16, 1868, Washington, D.C. You are there.
Washington. Andrew Johnson, the President of the United States, is impeached. The Senate is preparing to vote for acquittal or conviction. The fate of Andrew Johnson, Chief Magistrate of the world's greatest democracy, is at stake. CBS takes you back to witness the closing minutes of the trial of Andrew Johnson for high crimes and misdemeanors. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there,
you are there.
You Are There is based on authentic historical fact and quotation. And now,
the radio newsroom of the United States Senate and John Daly.
The drama of the 19th century is about to enter a new stage. The drama that began with the surrender of Lee at Appomattox, that was heightened by the bullet that ended the life of President Lincoln. And this drama reached its climax when Congress, determined to avenge the devastation and slaughter of the war, turned its anger on President Johnson for advocating Lincoln's policy of a charitable peace based upon his well-remembered words, "with malice towards none." Now the final day of this trial without precedent has come, and the voting will begin in a matter of moments. Rumors are flying thick and fast throughout the Capitol. Quincy Howe has spent this busy day circulating among the senators, who, sitting as a jury in accordance with the Constitution, will soon pass judgment on President Andrew Johnson. He has just returned to the newsroom. Quincy, what's the feeling downstairs? Will the president be acquitted or convicted, and how will the balloting go?
Right up to this last moment, John, the radical Republican leaders have never doubted they could command the two-thirds vote of the Senate required for conviction. These radical Republicans belong to the extreme wing of their party, as you know. And they're called radical because they want to impose a hard peace on the defeated southern states. But now that the hour of decision draws near, the outcome has suddenly become doubtful. The radical Republicans can count on 35 votes. They need 36, or just one vote more. 7 Republican senators have either announced that they'll vote for acquittal or they've just said nothing. Senators Trumbull, Fessenden, Van Winkle, and Fowler definitely favor acquittal. So does Senator Grimes of Iowa. But Grimes is so ill that he probably won't be able to take his seat this afternoon. The 2 other doubtful senators, the men who hold the fate of President Andrew Johnson in their hands, are Senator Henderson of Missouri and Senator Ross of Kansas. The radical Republicans must get one of those 2 wavering votes in order to oust Johnson and put through their plan to subjugate the South. Neither Henderson nor Ross is on the floor of the Senate chamber right now. I understand they're both in the corridor outside the Senate lounge downstairs. Ken Roberts is down there, too. He's been trying to get them to the microphone, so come in, Ken Roberts.
It's absolutely impossible to get near Senators Henderson and Ross right now. They're both surrounded by radical Republican leaders who are alternately begging, pleading, arguing, threatening, cajoling. Perhaps later we can get Henderson or Ross to our microphone, but right now we have Congressman Thaddeus Stevens of Pennsylvania, the man who, above all others, has been behind this move to impeach President Johnson. Congressman Stevens is convalescing from a recent illness, and 2 guards are carrying him in a chair. Mr. Stevens, will the president be convicted? What president? President Johnson, of course.
Oh, you mean the man who is now performing the function of president? Of course he'll be convicted. He entered upon that office through the foul door of assassination, and he'll leave it by the back stairs of shame.
And if the Senate convicts President Johnson, Senator Wade takes his place...
I assure you that'll happen.
Well, if it does, would you still insist that only Congress can reconstruct the southern states, or would you allow the new president to set the policy of reconstruction?
We'll dig that hole when we get a new shovel. As to the southern states, I recognize no such thing as a southern state.
I resent that, sir.
The territories to the south forfeited their right to statehood when they voted themselves out of the Union.
But, Mr. Stevens, according to the late President Lincoln, the war was fought to prevent the southern states from leaving the Union.
The late President Lincoln, to the contrary, the war was not fought to keep the Union. It was fought to rid this nation of a southern aristocracy that fed and floated itself on the vile institution of human slavery.
But slavery has been abolished, Congressman Stevens, and the southern states are asking to be brought back into the Union.
They can be brought back, and in time they will, but only when they come back as prodigals, aware of the enormity of their crimes, only after they have earned the price of admission.
What is that price of admission, Congressman?
Complete equality for the Negro, including the right to vote, elimination from public office of all who took arms against our country during the war, full and unquestioning acceptance by the South of the great principles of the Republican Party.
Meaning that they must vote the Republican ticket?
Meaning they must vote the Republican ticket.
Congressman Stevens, President Johnson's supporters claim that not one scrap of evidence has been presented during the trial that warrants conviction for high crimes and misdemeanors.
That's what they say.
Well, do you have anything new to say in answer to that?
We don't need criminal evidence to warrant conviction. This isn't a criminal proceeding. This is a political action. I repeat, a political action. What we need, we have indisputable evidence of President Johnson's political malefaction. Andrew Johnson has brought the high office of President of the United States into contempt, ridicule, and disgrace. That's all. Lift me up. Take me to the Senate.
Thank you, Congressman Thaddeus Stevens. The majority leader of the House is being lifted now into his chair and carried into the Senate chamber. Now, here is Senator Benjamin Wade of Ohio, the man who in a matter of moments may be the President of the United States. Senator Wade, how do you think the vote will come out? Will President Johnson be convicted?
For the good of the country, I pray so.
Senator, if conviction is obtained, what will be the policy of your administration towards the defeated southern states?
Well, my administration shall be dedicated to the greater glory of our loyal citizenry and to the elimination, the crushing, the smashing of every last vestige of secession and rebellion that dares to show itself in the conquered lands across the Potomac.
Will you vote on the article of impeachment, Senator? You know, of course, that some people feel that because you are in line for the presidency, your vote should be withheld.
I feel that I would be laggard in my duty to the people of Ohio if I fail to register their abhorrence of tyranny by forfeiting my own vote on the basis of personal involvement. Of course I shall vote. I shall vote against despotism until the last moment of the last hour of my life.
Senator Wade, there's been some talk that the president's supporters might ask for an adjournment at this time due to the serious illness of Senator Grimes. What do you think of that possibility, sir?
If God Almighty has stricken a member of this body so that he cannot be here to uphold the dictation of a despot, I thank him for it, and I will take every advantage of it that I can.
Well said, Ben. Well said.
Thank you, Senator Wade of Ohio.
Get the Henderson.
I still can't get to Senators Ross and Henderson. I'll keep trying to get them to our microphone, but it can't be done right now. John Hollenbeck at the other end of the corridor has Senator Reverdy Johnson of Maryland at his microphone. So over to Don Hollenbeck.
Senator, please, this side. Thank you. Senator Reverdy Johnson is one of the president's staunchest supporters in the Senate. Senator Johnson, how do you think the vote is going to go today? Will President Andrew Johnson be acquitted?
If justice survives, he will be exonerated. He must be. He's guiltless.
In your opinion, then, the charges against the president have not been proved?
Why, of course not. The impeachment articles sent up by the House of Representatives are built upon an alleged refusal of the president to enforce a law.
You refer, of course, to the Tenure of Office Act?
Yes, sir, I do. This act was passed to prevent the president from removing from office any federal officer who was in sympathy with the radical Republicans in Congress.
Well, in your opinion, Senator Johnson, didn't the president defy the law when he removed the Secretary of War from his cabinet, Mr. Stanton?
Oh, no, sir, no. This was not a defiance by the president. He was merely attempting to test the constitutionality of the Tenure of Office Act in the courts. And in so doing, he deliberately walked into the trap set for him by his political enemies. He knew that this was precisely what the radical Republicans were waiting for. He knew that those wolves were drooling, the hyenas howling. But Andy Johnson was never the man to draw back from a fight. No, sir, not Andy Johnson.
Senator, if President Lincoln were alive today, do you think the radical Republicans would have dared impeach him?
Why, certainly. This would have happened to Lincoln as it's now happening to Andrew Johnson. It's inevitable. Any man who stands for mercy and charity to the South is the marked enemy of the radical Republicans. And I thank God that Abraham Lincoln was spared this ignominy by the bullet of John Wilkes Booth.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. I've just been informed that Senator Grimes of Iowa, the senator who was so ill he wasn't expected to be present today, has arrived at the Senate entrance to the Capitol, so over to Ned Calmer.
I'm standing just inside the Senate entrance. Senator Grimes' carriage has just drawn up outside the door. The Capitol Guards had to clear a way for it through the pressing, excited crowds, and now the guards have lifted the senator's stretcher out of the carriage. It's the senator's doctor is by his side, cautioning the guards. Mrs. Grimes, the senator's wife, is still inside the carriage. The senator's stretcher is being brought through the entrance door now. The senator's face is quite ashen white. His eyes are closed. He's breathing in labor. He hardly looks alive. It seems impossible that this man will be able to vote. Yet here he comes. There's a doctor walking beside him. Doctor, I beg your pardon, sir.
No.
This is CBS. If your patient can spare you for just a moment, may we ask you a question?
No. I'm sorry. I've got my hands full. I'm sorry.
The doctor has gone past me, following the stretcher. Mrs. Grimes is just coming through the door now, her hands full of pillows. I'll try to... Mrs. Grimes, if you could stop just a minute. This is CBS. Could you tell us, Mrs. Grimes, is the senator any better?
My husband is very ill. He's been brought here against the advice of his physician, but he insisted. He feels that he must be here even if it means his life.
Do you think he'll be able to vote?
If his heart is as strong as his will, he will vote. Oh, I'm so sorry. I must go with him.
Thank you, Mrs. Grimes. The senator's wife is going up to the caucus room now, and she... Wait a minute. I understand that Ken Roberts has at last been able to get Senator Henderson to the microphone. So over to Ken Roberts.
Senator Henderson is standing beside me. Senator Henderson, have you made up your mind as to your vote? Will it be for conviction or acquittal?
For the past 2 weeks, my life has been unbearable. I have been spied on, followed, hounded almost to death. I am a Republican.
Yes, but Senator...
My desk is piled high with telegrams, most of them calling for my vote for conviction. But I shall not be swayed by threats or bribes.
But your vote, Senator, how will you vote?
I have in my hand a telegram. It is from my state, Missouri, from St. Louis. I will read it to you.
There is intense excitement here. Meeting call for tomorrow night. Can your friends hope that you will vote for conviction? If so, all will be well. Signed, E.W. Fox.
Senator.
I have already wired Mr. Fox my reply. Here it is. Say to my friends that I am sworn to do impartial justice according to law and evidence. And I will try to do it like an honest man.
Does that mean, Senator Henderson, that you have decided...
It means that I shall follow my conscience and not my party. I shall vote for acquittal.
Senator Henderson will vote for acquittal. Senator Henderson will vote not guilty. Back to the radio newsroom.
This is Quincy Howe. Henderson for acquittal. Ross still uncertain. Grimes here, but so ill that he may not have the strength to register his vote of not guilty. If Senator Grimes fails to answer his name when the vote is called, the radical Republicans will have achieved their purpose, the conviction and removal of Andrew Johnson as President of the United States and the elevation of Benjamin Wade to that... there's the bell. The Senate is reconvening, so over to John Daly at the doors of the Senate gallery.
Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase has taken his place on the rostrum, tapped his gavel now for order. Every seat but one in the Senate chamber is filled. That one, Senator Grimes' chair, is empty. Still empty, a little stirring in the seats. But the Chief Justice is demanding and has gotten order.
We'll make proclamation. Hear ye! Hear ye! All persons are commanded to keep silence on pain of imprisonment while the Senate of the United States is sitting for the trial of the articles of impeachment against Andrew Johnson, President of the United States.
The Senate is now going through the preliminary routine incident to its convening as a court of impeachment. The curtain is going up on one of the great dramas of our time. For the first time in our history, a President of the United States stands impeached, waiting for the historic verdict of the Senate. The stage is set, and in a moment, the preliminaries will be over. The business of the court will then be ready to begin.
There is no objection. I will so order. Mr. Chief Justice.
Senator Williams of Oregon is calling for the floor.
I move that the Chief Justice, in directing the Secretary to read the several articles of impeachment, shall direct him to read the 11th article first. Shall then be taken on that article, and thereafter the other 10 successively as they stand.
The radical Republicans have moved to consider the 11th article of impeachment first. Quincy Howe is here with me. Quincy, what do you think is behind this last-minute maneuver?
It looks like bad news for President Johnson. You see, the 11th article, the so-called Stevens article, contains no specific accusations. It's a generalized article. Among other things, it accuses the president of having, in some public speech or other, denied the right of Congress to interfere in the internal affairs of the southern states. Now, this 11th article is known as the catch-all article. If the radical Republicans can snare a majority of senators into approving this 11th article, then the Johnson conviction seems almost certain.
And now a vote is being taken.
Those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by no. No. The ayes in the majority, it is so ordered.
The President's enemies have won another round as the Senate adopts the order. Senator Edmonds of Vermont.
Gentlemen from Vermont, I move that the Senate now proceed to vote upon the articles according to the order of the Senate just adopted.
Senator Edmonds has just moved that the Senate proceed to vote immediately on the 11th article. Senator Fessenden of Maine.
Gentlemen from Maine, before the motion is made, I move that voting be postponed for half an hour. Why I make this motion? The gentleman from Iowa, Mr. Grimes, is not in the chamber. I saw the gentleman last night, and he told me that he should certainly be here this morning. It was his intention. The honorable member, permit me to interrupt him for a moment.
Johnson of Maryland.
He's here. I have that for him. He's on his way. He will be in the chamber in a moment. He's here.
Grimes is in the Senate chamber. Senator Grimes is here. One of the rare victories for President Johnson, for his vote will surely be for acquittal. Two of the Capitol Guards are carrying him to his seat on a stretcher. He seems to be unconscious. I don't see how Senator Grimes can vote. It looks impossible. Now back to the Chief Justice.
The question is now the motion submitted by the senator from Vermont. The motion will be read. That the Senate now proceed to vote upon the articles according to the rules of the Senate. Is that an objection? It is so ordered. Before we proceed to the vote, by direction of the Senate, the Chief Justice admonishes the citizens and strangers in the galleries that absolute silence and perfect order are required. It will be a matter of unfeigned regret if any violation of the order of the Senate should necessitate the execution of its further order that the persons guilty of disturbance be immediately arrested. Senators, in conformity with the order of the Senate, the chair will now proceed to take the vote on the 11th article as directed by rule. The Secretary will read the 11th article. Article 11, that said Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, unmindful of the high duties of his office and of his oath of office, and in disregard of the Constitution and laws of the United States, did heretofore, to wit, on the 18th day of August,
the clerk continues to read the familiar 11th article of impeachment, accusing the President of high crimes and misdemeanors. The crucial decision will come soon, and the scene below is one of somber tension. The senators listen to the monotonous voice of the clerk as it drones on. The face of Senator Ross of Kansas is impassive, not a muscle moves. He just sits in his chair, staring forward, eyes unblinking, almost with the look of a man in an hypnotic state. What his thoughts may be, how his vote will be cast, is still the big question. The presidency of the United States may rest upon the vote that will be cast by this small, unassuming man from Kansas. Around the chamber are the other actors in this great drama. Sitting at the manager's table is Thaddeus Stevens, the congressman from Pennsylvania, majority leader of the House, and perhaps the bitterest enemy of President Johnson in this chamber today. No one will argue his claim to the title of Father of Impeachment. Across the chamber from Stevens, in the front row, is Charles Sumner, the senator from Massachusetts and the most powerful of the Senate radical Republicans. Behind Sumner, a few seats to his right, is Benjamin Wade, the senator from Ohio, the man who, within a matter of minutes, may become President of the United States. Wade is nervously twirling a gold penknife from his watch chain, and he, too, is watching Ross. Well, he's still expressionless, still motionless. He's still a sphinx, an imponderable and unknown. And now the clerk is just about to finish reading the 11th article. This is the hour, and remember, 36 votes will convict, 19 votes will acquit.
Whereby it is said Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, did then, to wit, on the 21st day of February, A.D. 1868, at the city of Washington, commit and was guilty of a high crime and misdemeanor in office. The Secretary will call the roll. Mr. Anthony Mr. Senator Anthony, how say you? Is the respondent, Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, guilty or not guilty of a high misdemeanor as charged in this article? Guilty. Fired. Not guilty.
Buckaroo.
Not guilty.
Cameron.
Guilty.
Cattell.
Guilty.
Chandler.
Guilty.
Cole.
Guilty.
The voting is as expected. No surprises yet.
Conklin.
Guilty.
Annette.
Guilty.
Corbett.
Guilty.
Reagan.
Guilty.
Davis.
Not guilty.
Dixon.
Not guilty.
Doolittle.
Not guilty.
9 guilty, 5 not guilty.
Drake.
Guilty.
Edmonds.
Guilty.
Perry.
Guilty.
Essendon. Not guilty. Fowler.
Guilty.
Senator Fowler has voted guilty. This is a completely surprising thing. It's unexpected. His vote seems sure for acquittal.
How say you? Repeat your vote.
Not guilty.
Oh, it was a misunderstanding. Senator Fowler did not speak distinctly. His vote is not guilty. He is for acquittal, and the roll call now continues.
Guilty.
Senator Grimes is next. Here's one of the crucial votes that make this a fail.
The senator need not rise if he is unable.
Chief Justice Chase has given Senator Grimes permission to vote from his seat, but Grimes is getting up. He is struggling to his feet, refuses to vote seated. He's up now, standing, holding onto his desk for support.
Not guilty.
And the gallery, both those for the president and those against him, are saluting the courage, the bravery of Senator Grimes. It must have been a superhuman effort. He drew himself up to his full height, stood erect and proud a moment, and then almost defiantly, he delivered his vote for acquittal. The vote is now 13 for conviction, 8 for acquittal, 36 are needed for conviction, 19 for acquittal, and now it's certain that the decisive vote will be that of Senator Ross of Kansas.
The secretary will proceed. Harlan.
Guilty.
Henderson.
As he announced he would, Senator Henderson has defied his party and voted for acquittal.
Hendricks. Not guilty. Howard.
Guilty.
Howe.
Guilty.
Johnson.
Not guilty.
McCreary.
Not guilty.
Morgan.
Guilty.
Morrill of Maine.
Guilty.
The vote now is 18 guilty, 12 not guilty, 36
Morrill
needed for conviction,
Vermont.
19 for acquittal. Senator Ross will cast the deciding vote.
Morton.
Guilty.
Norton.
Not guilty.
Nye.
Guilty.
Patterson of New Hampshire.
Guilty.
Patterson of Tennessee.
Not guilty.
Pomeroy.
Guilty.
Ramsey.
Guilty.
Ross.
This is it. This is the deciding vote.
Ross.
Not guilty.
Ross has voted not guilty. Ross has voted for acquittal. President Johnson is acquitted, for the vote on the first 10 articles will now be a mere formality. The impeachment fails, and the president is saved. The radical Republicans have lost. The man who followed Lincoln is still able to fight for Lincoln's dreams and policies. Andrew Johnson is exonerated, and the policies of Abraham Lincoln are...
May 16, 1868. President Andrew Johnson is acquitted, and the first and only impeachment
impeachment of the President of the United States fails.
Arthur Godfrey, who usually comes around with his talent scouts about this time on Monday, is off on a summer holiday. He'll be back with us 6 weeks from tonight on August 29th.
Love is simple, perfectly simple. Boy meets girl, girl meets boy, then, come to think about it, it's pretty darn complicated. This is a program about love. I love you truly. No, not that kind. Young love.
Oh!
Julie dear,
Welcome to Young Love, starring Janet Waldo and Jimmy Lydon with John Heaston, the Judd Conlon choristers, and Wilbur Hatch and his orchestra.
I love you truly. Truly, 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 so truly, dear.
Hi, Mitch.
Hi, Jan. How's your love life?
Don't tell anybody, but I'm still married to the same fella.
After 2 whole weeks? It could never happen in Hollywood.
See you later.
Bye, Jan.
Oh, hello, Professor Mitchell.
Hello, Dreamboat. What a moonlight cruise she'll make someday.
Hiya, Mitch.
Hi, Larry. Hey, you just forgot an old Midwestern tradition.
Huh?
What's the idea of walking past the founder's statue without tossing a penny in his hat?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mitch. Yeah. Hey, I wonder what they do with those pennies.
They pay the faculty. What am I laughing at? Well, there's a typical scene outdoors on our campus. Now, how would you like to take a look indoors? You know, we have a few classes here, too. Let's go in the journalism building and catch one of the lectures. Well, so much for art in journalism. Sometimes we think of art as something See that good-looking, personable, well-groomed, young professor on the podium? That's the most popular professor on the campus. Me.
Who were the great artists of poetry? Shakespeare? Browning? Shelley?
Oh, Mitchell, you're hot as a pistol.
They were just the good songsmiths of their time.
Listen to that kid ad lib.
Their modern-day counterparts are Oscar Hammerstein and Johnny Mercer and Nature Boy.
I tell you, I'm the Georgie Jessel of the journalism school. Wait a minute, students. Wait a minute. Hold it. The junior class has asked me to remind you that there are still tickets available for the annual Sweetheart Dance Saturday night. Dismissed.
Mitch.
Oh, hi, Jimmy.
Mitch, I'm in trouble.
Well, that's a fairly normal condition in your life, Einstein. What's the problem this time?
Well, it's pretty rough being secretly married. Everybody on the campus wants a date with my wife because she's so doggone beautiful.
Maybe you could ugly her up a little.
Oh, I wouldn't change a thing about Janet. She's perfect.
She probably feels the same way about you.
Well, she does. She's crazy. I'm a slob.
I don't suppose you could tell everybody the truth.
Oh, Janet'd lose her scholarship, and my dad would send me someplace like Siberia.
Got good schools out there. By the way, I have an idea. Why don't you two announce your engagement?
Announce my engagement? To my wife?
Well, I'll admit it's backwards. First you're married, then you're engaged. Someday you may even get to be good friends.
Hey, we could announce it at the Sweetheart Dance.
Sure. That way you could let the whole student body know that she's took.
Only nobody'll know exactly how took she is. Larry, even though you're my roommate, I can't let you have a date with with my girl, Jan.
Well, it's a free country. Who are you, Mussolini or something?
Larry, I'm going to let you in on a secret. Jan and I are planning to announce our engagement.
No.
Yeah, at the dance Saturday night.
I hope you're kidding.
Well, why should I kid about a serious thing like that?
Well, you don't think for 1 minute that you and Janet would ever be happy together.
Well, why not?
Well, you're completely different. She's beautiful and smart and talented and attractive. And you're...
Yeah?
Well, you're completely different.
Thanks. Have you ever heard that opposites attract?
Well, I've heard that. And boy, it sure is true in your case.
Don't try to discourage me.
Gee, I had no idea that you and Jan were getting so thick.
Larry, no matter how thick you think we've been getting, we're even thicker than you think we've been getting thicker than.
Yeah. Well, I'll be a sport. Congratulations, pal. I hope you accomplished the impossible.
Larry, sometimes I think you don't have a very high idea of me.
To be perfectly frank, if I was a girl, you're the last person in the world I'd think of marrying.
If you were a girl, you'd better grab anything you could get.
Hey, Einstein, in all this romantic excitement, I forgot to tell you. There's a telegram for you.
Oh, no.
Well, it might be good news.
It might be, but it never is.
Well, go ahead, open it. Well, what's it say? Jimmy, what you looking like that for? Was there an accident? Your dad lost all his money? Somebody died?
Oh, worse than that. Worse than any of those things. I gotta go and see Jan right away. Jan, I've got some news for you.
I beat you to it. I just bumped into Mitch and he told me all about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's a sweet, wonderful idea to announce our engagement. I'm almost as excited as when we got married.
Jan, that isn't exactly the news I was going to tell you.
And I think it's just darling to announce it at the sweetheart dance.
Jan, you're going to hate me.
Just before we're engaged? Don't be silly.
You're going to loathe and detest me.
Jimmy, engaged people always love each other. Loathing and detesting is strictly for old married people.
We're that, too.
Oh, I can't wait until Saturday night. The engagement ceremony is always so touching and picturesque.
Yes,
the candlelight and the serenading, and the way they put the veil of invisibility and the cloak of mystery on the girl, and the pinning ceremony, and the way every guy at the dance gets to waltz once around the floor with the engagee.
Honey.
I'll be the happiest engagee in the world Saturday night.
Honey, even before we get engaged, we've got to get disengaged.
Why?
Oh, look at this telegram I just got from my dad.
Postponed trip of daughter of important client finally all set. Esther Radabaugh arriving there Saturday on Buckeye Limited. Take her to dance and show her a bully time. Jimmy, this is awful. Pretend you're sick.
Finish reading the telegram.
And don't pretend you're sick like you did last time. Love, Dad.
How can he sign a telegram like that? Love, Dad.
Well, you've got to tell him you won't do it.
Oh, you don't know my dad.
Just put your foot down. Tell him no.
Honey, you just don't put your foot down on my father. In our family, he has the exclusive rights to the word no.
Why would your dad do a thing like this to you?
Well, you see, my dad has all these clients, and they have all these daughters.
What if Esther Radabaugh is ravishingly beautiful?
How can anybody be ravishing with a name like Esther Radabaugh?
Judy Garland's real name is Frances Gum.
What am I going to do? Is there an easy way to break a leg?
I guess you'll just have to go to the sweetheart dance with Esther Radabaugh.
Well, a man can't stand up his own wife.
Jimmy, don't worry about it. Esther Radabaugh might be a real nice girl. And the two of you could have a wonderful time.
Well, how can you be so darn nice about it? Be mad, get furious, throw something at me.
But I'm not mad at you, Jimmy. It's nothing you can help.
Isn't that just like a woman? If it was a little thing, she'd raise the roof. But when I have to be a real schnook, she acts like Joan of Arc.
Sit down, Larry.
Mitch, I know why you've called me into your office. It was that essay I turned in.
Which essay? Oh, that essay.
I know you're going to say I didn't write it. Well, I've only got one answer for you. I didn't.
Oh?
I admit it. I didn't write a word of it. I got busy, so I went to a very close friend of mine and hired him to write it for me.
A very close friend, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were so chummy with Ralph Waldo Emerson.
You mean that essay was stolen from Emerson? I'm going to murder the guy who bought it from the dirty crook.
Well, at least get your money back. But, Larry, that's not why I called you in. Now, I believe you're pretty close to Jimmy and Jan, aren't you?
Well, I'm a little too close to Jimmy and not quite close enough to Jan.
Larry, tell me something about Jimmy and Jan. Do you know anything secret about the two of them?
Yeah.
What?
They're about to get engaged.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I heard the same rumor. Now, you know how much I think of those kids. Tell me, isn't there some kind of fancy ceremony that the fraternities whip up for engagements at the sweetheart dance?
Oh, yeah. It's a very impressive mishmash. Candlelight and everybody singing themselves hoarse. They throw a big veil over the dame and everybody dances with her. It's a big opera.
I didn't know you had that sentimental streak. Well, look, Larry, I want these two kids to get the full treatment of the sweetheart dance. The works. Tell the gang to make this the loveliest and most impressive engagement ceremony they ever put on.
Don't worry, Mitch, we're with you. I'll pass the word to the whole campus. When Jimmy and his date walk through that door into the dance Saturday night, we'll make it the most unforgettable night of their lives.
Between the acts of young love, here's a young-type suggestion. For fun in the daylight hours, there's a lot of it here each weekday, Monday through Friday. A fellow by the name of Arthur Godfrey does the program. Red-headed, completely uninhibited fella, reads commercials backwards, that sort of thing. Somehow makes a lot of sense, too. He also has a good band and some fine singers along. A lad by the name of Bill Lawrence sings. So do some other lads, call themselves the Mariners. Godfrey's show breezes along for 75 minutes every day on most of these CBS stations. It's better than air conditioning. Now back to Jan and Jimmy and the second act of Young Love.
Down by the station early in the evening, see the little sophomore looking so forlorn. Down by the station early in the evening, down by the station early in the evening, see the little sophomore looking so forlorn.
Buckeye Limited arriving on track number 1. Train is the Buckeye Limited.
Maybe she missed the train. Maybe she got sick. Maybe they dropped her off with the mailbags at Bucyrus.
Excuse me. I'm looking for a young man named James E. Lewis, Jr.
I'm Jimmy Lewis.
I just knew you were he.
Esther Radabaugh, I presume?
How did you recognize me?
My father told me you had nice teeth.
They're my outstanding feature.
Yes, they certainly are. I'd recognize your teeth a mile away.
Oh, it was very gracious of you to insist that I come down for the sweetheart dance. Oh, your father just said that you insisted and insisted, so I couldn't disappoint you, although it was necessary for me to cancel several previous engagements.
Well, I had to cancel an engagement myself.
Now, I'll bet you thought I was going to be an old stick in the mud. I know what you boys expect on blind dates, and I'll bet you really got a shock when you saw me.
I'm still tingling.
Oh, what you said. Now, of course, I know I'm not glamorous in the conventional way. I made up my mind a long time ago not to try to compete with the Betty Grables and the Hetty Lamars.
Well, that was probably a wise decision.
You know, James, your father and my father are such good friends that I have a sneaking suspicion you and I are going to get along like two peas in a pod.
I hope it's a very large pod.
All the way down on the train, I was nervous for fear you wouldn't be my type, but do you want to know something confidentially? The minute I saw you, I knew you were just exactly my type.
Well, when you get to know me better, I can be quite objectionable.
Oh, I'll never believe it. We're simpatico. Our vibrations just meet and mingle. We're right on the same wavelength. What are you?
What am I, what?
What's your sign?
I'll bet just anything you're Pisces, the fish.
I feel a little like one tonight.
Oh, I bet you can't guess what I am. Taurus, the bull. And you know what a Pisces always does to a Taurus.
I can imagine.
Oh, don't fight it. It's useless, James. If the stars are drawing us together, just relax and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now you have to tell me, what should I wear to the dance?
Oh, a dress?
Do you like a bare midriff on girls?
Well, better than on boys.
I think I'll surprise you.
Well, I'm prepared for anything. Well, can I take you to your hotel?
Oh, thank you, James. I would like to pretty up a little.
What are you doing at the dorm? I thought you'd be with Esther Radabaugh.
Oh, she's prettying up at the Eagle House.
Is she a nice girl?
Well, she's a girl. Oh, Jan, I feel like Benedict Arnold.
It's not you, Jimmy. It's your father.
Well, if I was my father and he was me and he was secretly married to you and I sent her down for him to take out instead of you, well, I'll bet he wouldn't do it for me. To you. With her?
I understand.
Well, you went up on me. I don't have the slightest idea what I'm talking about.
Jimmy, look. I don't mind not going to that old dance. Of course, the engagement ceremony would have been sort of fun, but we can do it next year. Besides, I have a lot of assignments to catch up on, and I've got to clean out my closet, and I've got Tuffy.
What kind of a husband am I? Leaving my wife with a teddy bear on the night of the sweetheart dance.
I won't have you insult Tuffy. He's the only teddy bear my husband ever gave me.
Oh, Jan.
Furthermore, he's very cuddly, and he dances almost as well as you do.
This I can believe.
Oh, Jimmy, I don't want you to feel sorry for me, not for 1 minute. Of course, I'd like to be with you tonight, but it just can't be helped. Besides, Esther Radabaugh only has you for 3 hours, and I've got you for all my life.
Jan, I'll have a lousy time.
Don't have a lousy time. But if you like Esther Radabaugh better than me, I'll be mad.
If I liked Esther Radabaugh better than you, I'd be off my rocker.
You didn't say anything about the way I look.
You look very pretty, Esther.
Do you really think so? Really?
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's my opinion that true beauty is hidden deep on the inside of a person.
Well, it's nice to have a little sneak out.
I bet you planned this so we'd have this long walk across the campus by ourselves. In the dark.
Esther, I want to be frank with you. I like you best in the dark.
Oh, you romantic.
Oh, that's the gym where the music's coming from.
Is it a name band?
Well, quite a few people have heard of Freddie Schwartz. He's pretty big in Central Ohio.
Freddie Schwartz?
You know, everybody cavorts with Freddie Schwartz.
Oh, I think I've heard of him. Oh, listen to what they're playing. Some enchanted evening you may meet a stranger. Oh, do you know who I am? I'm your stranger. From now on, This is going to be our song. Oh, one thing. Now, about dancing. I've been taking lessons. And I want to know right off the bat, are you the step, step, slide type of dancer? Or do you prefer slide, slide, step?
Esther, I'll leave it pretty much up to you. When you want to slide, and I'll just slide along with you.
Oh, you're such a gentleman.
Well, we may as well go in.
Oh, before we do, while we're still out here in the dark, I wonder if you don't feel an overpowering urge to say something to me, like 3 little words?
What I have an urge to say to you, Esther, is better left unsaid.
Well, I want you to know, I'm not going to play cat and mouse with you. A long time ago, I made up my mind that if ever a man said to me, I love you, I'd follow that man to the ends of the earth. I'm just that loyal.
I can believe it. Loyalty sticks out all over you.
Hey, is that you, Jimmy?
Yeah.
They're here. Lights out, everybody.
Oh, what are you doing to me?
It's only the cloak of mystery and the veil of invisibility.
Now, wait a minute. Larry.
Don't worry about a thing, Jim. The whole campus is here to help you celebrate your engagement.
Engagement? Oh.
Light up your candles, everybody. Jimmy, we're going to make sure this is one romance that lasts.
Larry.
We're going to see to it that you two sweethearts really stick. Okay, gang, serenade!
Oh, Larry, you don't know what you're doing.
Shut up, you dope. You're lousing up the whole ceremony.
Oh, listen, everybody. I have a very important announcement to make.
Oh, I could just cry.
Now, where's your sentiment? You don't make the announcement anyway. That's for the president of the Women's Panhellenic Society. Go ahead, Doris.
Oh, fellow Panhellenes, it is most appropriate at this sweetheart dance that we joyfully reenact the ceremony of betrothal.
Madam President,
the friendships made beneath the hallowed elms and ivy of our beloved alma mater are cherished through the years and often blossom into sentiments even more abiding and fruitful.
I would like to say that...
How about a little reverence?
James Lewis, these flowers are for the girl beneath the veil, whose identity is known only to you. Roses for remembrance, lilies for love, forget-me-nots for loyalty.
Loyalty?
Now, old friend, as part of the official ceremony of betrothal, we ask but one boon.
Larry,
Each of us desires one waltz around the floor with your chosen one, before you claim her forever as your partner in the dance of life.
Waltz? That's step, step, slide, isn't it?
Fellow students, I'd like to explain that... I gotta tell you, Larry, Mitch, somebody listen to me!
Wish I was inside there, watching that ceremony. Those two kids must be getting the thrill of their lives.
Gee.
Who's that?
Oh, hello, Mitch.
Jan.
Did you come over here to listen to the music?
Jan, what are you doing out here?
I was lonesome at the dorm, so I thought I'd just walk over.
But if you're out here, who's that in there getting engaged to your husband?
Getting engaged?
Yeah.
Esther Radabaugh? That siren! She wouldn't dare!
They're going through the whole engagement ceremony, candlelight and everything.
You know what that is? It's bigamy!
Oh, it never occurred to me that your own husband wouldn't take his own wife to the sweetheart dance.
Mitch, we've got to rescue him.
Oh, I got him into this. I'll get him out somehow. Oh, me and my big fat sentiment.
Whirling. Oh, my. Waltzing makes me so giddy.
Now, fellow students, the climax of the engagement ceremony, the pinning and the unveiling of the girl.
Stop! Who is that? This can't go on. I refuse to let this engagement ceremony continue.
Mitch!
What happened? Why not?
Well,
I love this girl.
Mitch, you're a pal.
You love me?
Passionately.
Take this veil. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth.
Oh, no!
We'll rejoin Jan and Jimmy in just a moment. Abe Burrows, known as the Hairless Hildegard, will have the lovely Hildegard herself on his Breakfast with Burrows program tonight. Abe gets up so late he has to have breakfast at night, but with Hildegard as a guest. Breakfast with Burrows will be right on time this Monday night, following the latest hilarious adventure of Joan Davis in her new department store job. Breakfast with Burrows and Leave It to Joan Davis, of course, are Monday night features on most of these same CBS stations, while Lux Radio Theater is on a summer vacation. Leave It to Joan follows in a few moments over most of these stations. Now, back to the campus of Midwestern University.
Jan. Honey. Oh, say something. Speak to me. Don't keep looking at me with that icy stare.
Esther Radabaugh.
What have I done? I didn't even get engaged to her.
Esther Radabaugh.
Oh, all the time she was here, you acted like Joan of Arc. Now she's gone, you treat me like I had the Black Plague.
James E. Lewis, Jr., I hate you.
Well, why? Well, why are you mad at me?
I'm mad at you because Esther Radabaugh had a good time.
Oh, it's not my fault. I tried to make her as miserable as I was.
What if your dad sends her down again?
Well...
Jimmy, you've got to educate your folks. Parents shouldn't get their own way all the time. You'll spoil them.
Look, honey, Esther Radabaugh's back in Cleveland. Mitch put her on the train himself.
How did he ever get rid of her?
Oh, he told her how much money he makes a year.
Well, just so it never happens again, Jimmy. I won't have relatives meddling with our marriage just because they don't know about it.
Jan, are you out there?
What is it?
Telephone, long distance.
Oh, something awful must have happened. Oh, hello? Oh, hello, Mother. What's wrong? Who? You're what? But Mother, you can't. I don't care how eligible he is. Mother, hand-painted ties do not make a husband. He's already on his way, ties and all.
What happened?
Jonathan Shackleton III is coming down to have a date with me.
What?
Jimmy, now it's your turn to be Joan of Arc.
Young Love, the new CBS college story every week at this time, starring Jimmy Lydon and Janet Waldo, with John Heaston, Gil Stratton Jr., Elvia Ullman, Doris Singleton, your announcer Larry Thor, and the Judd Conlon choristers, the music of Elliot Daniels, conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Young Love is written and directed by Lawrence and Lee. The Columbia Broadcasting System. Arthur Godfrey, who usually comes around with his talent scouts about this time on Monday, is off on a summer holiday. He'll be back with us 4 weeks from tonight on August 29th.
Jimmy, do you think we'll be able to make our marriage work?
Well, somebody better work in this family. We're broke.
That's Janet and Jimmy, a very unusual married couple. They're in love.
I love you truly.
Not quite so long hair, boys. This is young love.
Oh. Truly, dear.
Welcome to the new college story, Young Love, starring Janet Waldo and Jimmy Lydon with John Heaston, the Judd Conlon choristers, and Wilbur Hatch and his orchestra.
I love you truly, 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 so truly, dear.
Hey, Jan, my dad's coming down to the campus this weekend.
No.
Yeah, it's Alumni Day, and Dad never misses his class reunion.
Oh, I'm scared to meet him. Is he nice?
Well, as fathers go, I guess he's nice. My mother likes him.
When does he get here?
Well, his letter says Flight 29 Saturday morning.
Well, let's see his handwriting. Oh.
Well, what's the matter?
Your father makes O's just like Mussolini.
Huh?
Look, his O's lean backwards. And I read in a magazine once that Mussolini made his O's that way.
Yeah.
Hi, Jan, Jimmy. What you studying so hard?
Oh, hi, Professor Mitchell.
Hi, Mitch. We're analyzing my father's O's.
Oh, I should have known you wouldn't be concentrating that hard on a journalism assignment.
Mitch, I've got to meet my father-in-law this weekend, and how does a daughter-in-law act toward a father-in-law who doesn't know she's his daughter-in-law?
I don't know. It's been so long since I was a daughter-in-law.
Well, keeping our marriage a secret is a DGTP.
What's that, a new insecticide?
Mitch, you aren't up on the campus slang. A DGTP is a doggone tough proposition.
Oh, excuse me. Guess I'm old-fashioned. I still talk in words. Someday I'll have to take a course in this new jet-propelled grammar.
Mitch, you and Janet and I are the only people who know we're married.
Now, how about the Justice of the Peace who tied the knot?
Oh, he doesn't count. We'll never see him again.
Look, kids, suppose you told everybody you were married. Would the world come to an end?
Yep.
I'd lose my scholarship. It's only for single women. I'd have to leave school.
Hey, my dad would blow a gasket. He's very strict.
He makes O's like Mussolini.
Hey, I've got an idea. Jan, why don't you invite your dad down this weekend, too?
My dad?
Sure. You get both of your father-in-laws together on campus, see that they get to know each other, and maybe they'll be real buddies and pals.
Yeah, then we could spring it on them, maybe.
Who knows? Might do the trick.
I'll write Daddy today. Oh, Mitch, thanks for a swell idea.
Didn't you know all along I was a VCTP?
VCTP?
Very clever type professor. Announcing the arrival of southbound flight number 29, now unloading at gate number 4.
Here they come.
Oh, what does your father look like?
Oh, I don't know. He just looks like an ordinary father.
Jimmy!
Oh, and there he is. Hello, Dad.
How are you, son? You're looking fit as a troop.
Oh, feel fine, Dad. I want you to meet a friend
How are
of
your
mine.
studies coming? Not flunking anything, huh?
Well, only astronomy.
Good.
Dad,
Never could see any use to astronomy anyhow.
well, Dad, I want you to...
Say, it is good to get back to my old stamping ground again. Makes me feel like a college boy. Happiest days of my life were spent here, son. Let's lift again the
Dad.
foaming stein to old Midwestern.
Dad,
We are born.
Dad, this is Janet Shaw.
Who?
Janet Shaw.
Sure. I know some Shaws.
You do?
Is your family in natural gas?
I don't think so. Daddy's a railroad man.
Railroads. Thing of the past.
Did you have a nice flight, Dad?
Oh, beautiful flight. We went through 4 thunderstorms. Everybody on the plane got sick, and I was sitting next to a 10-week-old brat that bawled all the way. Only way to travel.
Well, we better go out in front and claim your luggage.
Ah, son, it certainly is good to get away from the office for a weekend. I tell you, I'm a martyr to the real estate business. A martyr. What's this girl following us for?
Well, she's with me. She's a friend of mine.
Do you mind?
No, you can tag along, kid, if you want to. James, they're throwing me to the lions. That's what they're doing. Did you ever hear of the Women's Civic Betterment League?
I don't think so.
I wish I'd never heard of them. Calling me a swindler. Trying to drive me out of business. Just because my new real estate development is a little bit swampy.
That's too bad.
Yeah, but they don't know the kind of a man they're up against. I have not yet begun to fight.
No. Take it easy, Dad. You're going to lick him.
You bet I am. Women's Civic Betterment League. This is just what I need to get out with the boys tonight. James, you're going to have dinner tonight at the Alpine Cave. By the way, do you remember June Plocher?
June Plocher?
Oh, she remembers you. Tubby Plocher's daughter. James here used to play house with her when he was just a mite.
Really? Yeah, the little girl who lived next door to us.
Yeah, well, she's not such a little girl now. She asked extra special to be remembered to you, James. That girl sure has blossomed out. She's Tubby all over again. Folks have got money, too. What does your father do with the railroads, miss?
He was a dispatcher, but he's retired. And I weigh 105 pounds with my shoes on. Excuse me.
Jan!
I'll see you later.
Dad, you hurt her feelings.
What'd I say? Say, you aren't seriously interested in that girl, are you, James?
Well, I like her.
She's skinny. I tell you, son, find a girl you can hang on to. Like Tubby Plocher's daughter. Why, if this girl turned sideways, you wouldn't even know she was there.
Yeah, but Dad...
What do you see in this girl?
Well, I think she's beautiful.
Not enough to her to be beautiful. She'd blow away in a stiff breeze. Find yourself a healthy girl. That's what you want? Health.
Janet is smart.
Smart? Uh-oh. Steer clear of the smart one, son. If there's one thing you don't want in a woman, it's brains.
Are you sure your dad will be on this train?
Well, I think so. The folks only got my letter yesterday, so there wasn't time for him to write back.
Well, what's your dad like?
He's nothing like your father. My dad is a gentleman.
Oh, well, you'll like my father when you get to know him. We'll have dinner tonight at the Alpine Cave. It's a real man's place, and your dad and my dad will get on fine.
Oh, Mother!
Mother?
Oh, my darling little Janet, how are you, baby?
Mother, it's so good to see you, and I'm so surprised.
I'll just bet you are.
What happened to Dad? He's not sick.
Oh, no, he had a lodge meeting tonight, and he just couldn't miss it. But I said to myself, we aren't going to disappoint our Janet. I'm going to come instead.
Oh, Mother, I'm so glad you did.
Who's this?
Mom, this is somebody I want you to meet.
I'll just bet this is the young man I've been hearing so much about. You don't have to introduce us. I feel as if I already know you.
You do?
I'm glad to meet you, Mr. Winchokovich.
My name is James E. Lewis, Jr.
Oh, well, I'm glad to meet any of Janet's friends. My, you're looking fine, dear. I believe you've put on a little weight.
I hope so.
Oh, well, you can carry it. But you don't want to get too fleshy, dear. Remember, the lean rats bury the fat ones.
May I carry your bag, Mrs. Shaw?
Why, thank you, Mr. Loomis.
Lewis, Mother. His name is Lewis.
Well, I should be able to remember that. It's such a common name.
Would you like to freshen up a little bit before we go over to the campus?
No, but I am tired from that train trip, and I wonder, could we stop and get a little, pick-me-up? Could we? Would you like something to drink, Mr. Lewis?
Sure, there's a place right near the station.
Oh, I just know I'd feel better once I get a good stiff drink inside of me.
Mother!
Oh, I'm not going to have it with any lemon or sugar or cream. I'm going to take my tea straight. Another cup of tea, Mr. Lucas?
Mother, Jimmy's name is Lewis. You've got to remember that. You have no idea how important it is.
Oh, yes, I do. I know that you two are thinking of each other as more than just casual acquaintances.
Yeah, we are.
But before two young people can think seriously about one another, we must know, are you right for each other? We must analyze it emotionally, psychologically, and by tea leaves.
By tea leaves?
Oh, you've no idea how coming events cast their tea leaves before. Now, let me have both your teacups.
Do you really believe in these things, Mrs. Shaw?
Oh, my, yes. I married Mr. Shaw entirely on account of his tea leaves. Oh, yeah, the darlingest tea leaves you ever saw. Cups, please. Now, let me see. What have we here? Oh, my. Ooh. Oh.
It's pretty interesting, huh?
I can read it like a printed page.
What does it say, Mother?
A warning. You two children could never possibly be married to each other.
Are you sure?
Your tea leaves are just lying there screaming, no, no, no!
Jan, I've got a very strong feeling we've made a mistake.
So have I, Jimmy. I'm afraid of what's going to happen when we bring your dad and my mother together at dinner tonight.
I feel like that time in chemistry lab when I mixed sodium hyposulfite with nitric acid.
What happened?
Don't do it.
Your dad's like a bull in a china shop.
Well, I wouldn't go bragging about your mother and her tea leaves.
Oh, she's not going to like the Alpine Cave, I can tell you that right now.
Hello.
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 Yeah, I've been looking all over for you.
You have?
Yeah, I've been asking everybody on the campus, where's the residence of Mr. and Mrs. James E. Lewis?
Oh, no.
And they just look at me as if I'm crazy.
Well, how did you, what?
Who are you?
Well, don't you remember, honey? I married you.
Huh?
You're the Justice of the Peace.
Oh, from Circleville.
I guess you didn't recognize me in these two-tone shoes. I'm, on vacation.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, I just came down to see how things were going. You see, you two are the first couple I ever married, and I wanted to see if it really took. Are you happy?
Yeah.
We're happy.
Still just the two of you. Oh, of course, there's just the two of you. After 4 weeks, I just wasn't thinking. It's silly, isn't it? Doesn't happen that fast with grasshoppers.
Well, it was nice of you to look us up.
Well, you know how I feel about you two? I feel, well, like a shopkeeper who just went into business and wants to make sure his first sale went over with a smash. You know, satisfied customers.
Oh, we're very satisfied with your work.
You like the way I tied the knot?
You have no idea the kind of knot you tied.
Well, I'm glad you got your $2 worth. Well, what are we going to do to celebrate?
Celebrate?
Well, you see, our parents are in town.
Both your parents?
No, one each.
Oh, your father and his mother?
No.
Oh, your mother and her father?
No.
My mother and his father.
Oh, well, never mind. I'll get it straightened out at dinner.
Dinner?
You see, Jimmy's dad wants to eat at the Alpine Cave.
The Alpine Cave? Oh, I know just where that is. I'll meet you there.
Well, I'm not sure that we can.
No, I know exactly what you're trying to say. Now, I realize that a couple of newlyweds still in college don't have much money to throw around.
Well,
and just between you and me, a Justice of the Peace isn't exactly a Texas oil man. So this dinner is going to be Dutch.
Oh, but you don't understand.
No, I won't have it any other way. Dutch. When we have dinner tonight, it's going to be every man for himself.
Oh, brother.
We'll be back with Young Love in just a moment. Basil Rathbone, a CBS star in his own right, pays a visit to Take Breakfast with Burroughs later this evening on most of these CBS stations. Mr. Rathbone usually utilizes his wits to outwit the erring criminal. Mr. Burroughs utilizes his wits to write songs like The Girl with the Three Blue Eyes. It should be quite a battle of wits, as the public relations men would call it, on CBS later this evening. Breakfast with Burroughs is heard in part of the familiar Lux Radio Theater time and is so called because Mr. Burroughs gets up late. Now back to Jimmy and Jan and the second act of Young Love.
You and me, a little brown duck, don't I love thee? You and me, a little brown duck, don't I love thee?
This is the music you'll hear any night of the week at the Alpine Cave. You'll just love this restaurant if you've got a little Wiener Schnitzel in your soul.
Ho, ho, ho! Welcome to the Alpine Cave.
That guy with a feather in his cap and the knee pants is Hans Kobelmeister, jolly host and proprietor of the Alpine Cave.
Ho, ho, ho! I am Hans Kobelmeister, Charlie host and proprietor of the Alpine Cave.
I already said that. The Alpine Cave is a little slice of old Switzerland in central Ohio.
The Alpine Cave is a little slice of old Switzerland in central Ohio.
All right, you tell it. I'm tired.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed the singing and dancing of my Bavarian bell ringer. Remember, everybody loves everybody when you are guest of Hans Kobelmeister, jolly host and proprietor of the Alpine Cave. Ho, ho, ho.
Just follow me right on down the steps. Come on, Jay. Well, Hans, how are you, Hans, you old son of a gun?
Welcome to the Alpine Cave.
I'll bet you're holding the best table in the house, Hans, for an old pal, huh?
How many, please?
Just the two of us.
Well, Dad...
This is my son, Hans. Chip off the old block.
Dad, Jan's meeting is here.
Oh, we gotta feed her? Well, I'll be a sport. Make that a table for three, Hans.
Well, Dad...
Well?
Jan's bringing somebody.
Another girl? A girl for your old dad? Well, aren't you the fixer, boy?
She's not exactly a girl. She's married.
Say, you going out with married women these days?
Could be.
Hello, Jimmy. I'm sorry we're late.
Oh, hi, Jan.
Mr. Lewis, I want you to meet my mother.
Mother. Ah. How do you do?
Mrs. Shaw, this is my father.
How do you do? Oh, what a dreadful place. I'm sure they don't wash their letters.
Would you like to sit down, or shall I serve you here in the doorway?
Yours to a table, Hans, old pal. Ah, there we are. This is fine.
Hello.
Hello.
I hope you haven't ordered yet.
No.
Oh, good. Then I haven't kept you waiting.
Who is this guy?
Well, I'm sure I don't know. I never saw him before in my life.
Folks, I guess we should explain
Now,
that,
don't you bother yourself with introductions. Let me guess. That's Mr. Shaw, and that's Mrs. Lewis.
I'm Mr. Lewis.
I'm Mrs. Shaw.
I'm Sam.
Sam.
Yeah, but don't you worry for a minute. I'm paying my own way.
Well, Dad, I don't know exactly how to
Is
put
this table ready to order?
You bet we are, Hans, old pal. Folks, I want you all to meet my old college buddy. This is Hans Kobelmeister, jolly host and proprietor of the Alpine Cave. Ho, ho, ho.
That's me.
Hans, remember the high old times we used to have back in the days when I was in school? This was the campus hangout even then, you know. Hans, old pal, remember the time we stuffed the pot roast in Beanie Wilson's mattress?
Mattress?
And the time we put the rubber cement in the Dean's cauliflower? You remember, don't you, Hans? You remember?
No.
Well, those were the days. Now, what do you folks want to eat, eh?
May I recommend my Sauerbraten mit Kartoffelklößen? Oder der Knackwurst mit Schliegelgedumpf, ne? Oder the speciality of the house, Wiener Schnitzel à la Holstein.
You know what I feel like tonight? Cornflakes.
Anybody know what this fella's name is?
Well, not exactly, but I know this much. He's from Circleville.
That's a help. Hey, folks, why don't you let me order for all of us, huh? Specialties all round.
5 Wiener Schnitzels coming up.
Oh, Wiener Schnitzels. I'll break out all over.
Yes, sirree, I guess you folks must be pretty happy about what's happened.
Well, I suppose we're happy. What's happened?
Oh, as if you didn't know. But I want you folks to know that you're not one bit more proud than I am.
Proud schmout? What's this guy talking about?
I suppose you've all been reading about the devaluation of the British pound.
Well, the way I figure it, let those folks on the other side of the Atlantic take care of their money, and I'll take care of mine.
That's the kind of talk that leads to economic suicide.
Mother!
I don't know what's suicide about. It's the way I've run my business for years.
Dad.
What about the billions of dollars we're spending abroad?
Mother.
What about the billions of dollars we should be spending right here at home?
I never spent the $2.
You didn't?
I framed it.
Framed it?
It's right there on the wall of my office in Circleville, just as big as life.
Well, I suppose there's nothing wrong with that.
Janet.
Yes, Mother?
This man sitting next to me is as batty as a bedbug.
Marriage. I guess there just isn't anything like it.
Nobody's come up with a satisfactory substitute.
Yes, sirree. Don't you often wonder where we men would be without the women? Or where the women would be without the men? And you know, these two youngsters here, they're my first.
Your first what?
Oh, you don't know who I am. I'm the guy who did it. Yes, it was just 4 weeks ago today. Janet.
The food's here.
Is everybody as hungry as I am? I'm just starved. Aren't you starved, Mr. Lewis? I'll bet you're just famished, Mother. Aren't you just famished?
I'm rapidly losing my appetite.
Here it is. Here is a speciality of the house. Wiener Schnitzel à la Holstein à la Hans Doppelmeister. Charlie Host und proprietor of the Alpine Cake. Ho, ho, ho.
Ah, just smell that. Smell that aroma. I can just close my eyes and tell you that's the same dish I ate here in 1922.
I can just hold my nose and tell you I won't like it.
Mother, you shouldn't decide until you've tasted.
There are only 3 things in the world that I can't stand. Needlepoint, Parcheesi, and Wiener Schnitzel.
I like Parcheesi. Well, as I started to say before, it was just 4 weeks ago today that these two young people...
Your food's getting cold.
And Wiener Schnitzel's no good if it gets cold.
Well, if it's been sitting around here since 1922, a few more minutes won't hurt.
What's the matter?
I think there's a guppy in my water glass.
Mother, it's just a breadcrumb.
I don't think this place is sanitary, and I don't see a certificate on the wall anyplace that says this kitchen has been inspected by the state health authorities.
Who cares? You gotta eat a peck of dirt before you die.
Well, as soon as I get back home, I'm going to have this place investigated by the Women's Civic Betterment League.
What's the matter?
Drink a glass of water, Mr. Lewis.
Give him mine.
Excuse me. I just thought for a minute you said the Women's Civic Betterment League.
I did.
Am I to understand that you have any remote connection with this League of Harpies?
I am the president of that League of Harpies.
What? Good God!
I am also chairman of the policy board.
Mother is very active.
Now, Dad, don't lose your temper.
For months they've been on my neck. For months they've been making my life miserable. They've been trying to drive me out of business. I come down to my old alma mater to get 1 weekend of peace, 1 weekend of freedom from the Women's Civic Betterment League. And I get the president of it right in the middle of my Wiener Schnitzel.
What is your line of work, Mr. Lewis?
I'm a real estate man from Cleveland.
Oh, you're that Lewis, are you? You swindler!
Mother!
You heard her, James. You heard what she said. I've got witnesses.
All right.
I'll sue you for defamation of character. I'll sue you in every court in this land.
Ha ha! When we get through with you, you won't be able to sue a jackrabbit. You won't even be able to make a telephone call unless you borrow a nickel from the warden.
Everything I've done is completely legal.
Legal? Ha! Make a real estate development out of a peat bog. Paradise Acres.
So it's a little damp. What's wrong with a little water?
A little water? My sister bought a house in Paradise Acres, and the only way she can get to her flower bed is in a rubber boat.
Did Aunt Nina buy her house from Mr. Lewis?
Yes, and it was the same thing as if he'd stuck his dirty fist in poor Aunt Nina's pocketbook and stolen $12,000.
Now, just a minute.
That's why I've been laboring night and day to put a stop to people like you. I've got the Betterment League mobilized to a woman. We've got a bill before the state legislature, and they'll drive you and your kind out of business. Con men.
Well, I got swindled on that property. I had to get rid of it somehow.
But why did... Mr. Lewis, why did you have to pick on poor Aunt Nina?
Well, let the buyer beware.
Your father swindled my poor Aunt Nina.
Well, why didn't your old Aunt Nina watch what she was buying?
You know, I sense a very definite feeling of friction.
We're leaving. I won't sit at the same table with this Lewis person. Not another second. And I won't have you sitting here with his son. Ha ha! The tea leaves were certainly right.
Go on, you old battle axe. If you think James and I want you and your skinny daughter smiling out into your face, get on your broomstick and fly on it.
Oh, my goodness. I'm a failure. It's all my fault. I'm to blame. I must have done something wrong.
Shut up!
Oh, such rudeness.
Und now der Alpine Cave Flur Show. Hans Kuppelmeister presents the singing and dancing of my famous Bavarian Bellringer. Ein, zwei...
Waiter, would you bring us a check, please?
Don't worry, I'll pay the bill.
I wouldn't eat off of your contaminated money. And, Janet, I want it clearly understood that you are never to see this boy again.
James, if I hear of you coming within spitting distance of this girl, I'll yank you out of college so fast you won't know what to do.
Remember, when you are the guest of Hans Kuppelmeister, everybody loves everybody.
Jimmy!
Separate tapes!
We'll rejoin Jan and Jimmy in just a moment. Joan Davis will bring you another hilarious session in a department store tonight on her new Monday comedy series, Leave It to Joan. In fact, if you'll just stay tuned, most of these same stations will bring you Joan immediately following Young Love. Now, back to the campus of Midwestern University.
Hi, Mitch.
Hi, Mitch.
Well, kids, how'd it go? I bet your folks really got to know each other.
They sure did.
And when they got to be real pals and buddies, did you let them in on your little secret?
Mitch, somehow we didn't feel it was exactly the psychological moment.
How did it go?
It was a BFFTSNHH.
Meaning?
It was a big fat flop that shouldn't never have happened.
You'll hear Young Love, a new CBS college story every week at this time, starring Jimmy Lydon and Janet Waldo, with John Heaston, Verna Felton, John Brown, Jerry Hausner, Hans Conried, your announcer Larry Thor, the Judd Conlon choristers, and the music of Elliot Daniel, conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Young Love is written and directed by Lawrence and Lee. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
to guard the victory, to keep the peace. The mission of your men in the AAF. In cooperation with the American Broadcasting Company, your Army Air Forces, from the air fronts beyond the battlefields, present the continuing story of America's men in the AAF. This program is an official military operation of the Army Air Forces and is brought to you for contact with our airmen overseas. Tonight, we take you to the Marianas to hear more news about the atomic bomb. Guam, to meet a flight engineer, key man of a B-29 crew. Tinian, to see how our boys live away from combat. New York, to hear a salute to an Army Air Force hero by Captain Eddie Rickenbacker. And as always, we bring you the All-Soldier Orchestra and singing voices of the AAF. Tonight, the AAF and all of us are sure we're on the verge of a great day. For 48 hours, the world has waited breathlessly for the news which would bring an end to World War II. One of the decisive factors which brought us to the threshold of peace was the use of the atomic bomb. This week, the world viewed with mixed apprehension and hope the dawn of a new scientific era. The atomic bomb was not unleashed with any surge of elation or glory. In the words of President Truman, it was used in order to shorten the agony of war, to save the lives of thousands and thousands of young Americans. For an interview with the Army airmen who dropped the first atomic bomb on Japan, here is our AAF reporter in the Marianas.
This is your AAF combat reporter, Technical Sergeant Harold Brown, speaking from somewhere in the Marianas. During the last few days, the entire world has been startled at the announcement of America's new atomic bomb. At our wire record microphone is Brigadier General Thomas F. Farrell of Albany, New York, who will give us a few facts concerning this new weapon. We also have three men from the crew of the superfortress that dropped the first bomb on Hiroshima. They are Colonel Paul W. Tibbets of Miami, Florida, the aircraft commander, Captain Theodore J. Van Kirk of Northumberland, Pennsylvania, the navigator, and Major Thomas W. Farabee of Mocksville, North Carolina, the bombardier. Our first question is directed to Brigadier General Thomas F. Farrell. Sir, how long has this bomb been in the experimental stage?
The atomic fission bomb has been under development for over 3 years. In those 3 years, there was successfully completed an effort which might have taken 30 years in peacetime.
How large is it, or can you say?
It has the equivalent effect of over 20,000 tons of TNT.
How does its destructive power compare with an ordinary demolition bomb?
It is entirely impracticable to compare this bomb with an ordinary demolition bomb. It would be like comparing elephants with fleas, only that comparison would be unfair to the elephants.
Does it utilize atomic energy?
It really uses atomic energy, which is the energy released when the atom is split. The process of splitting the atom is called atomic fission.
Do you think Japan has any comparable weapon?
We know definitely that Japan has no such weapon, nor any prospect of making such a weapon during the present war.
How was your crew picked for this job, Colonel Tibbets?
A long time ago, when I was privileged to form this unit for Army Air Forces, I was also permitted at the same time to select the key personnel by name. Major Farabee, Captain Van Kirk, and myself had flown together in Europe, and Captain Lewis, the co-pilot, was a boy that had been with me during the early experimental stages of B-29 flying. Did you know what you were carrying when you took off, sir? Yes, I did know. Major Farabee, were you a little nervous? That is hard to say. I knew it was the most important mission that I'd ever been on, but I was sure each crew member would carry out his job. I wasn't worried about what we'd do, what we were sent up there to do. Did you know that your B-29 would be outside of its range of concussion? No, I did not. But we'd figured to get the airplane out into a safe range, and we maneuvered to make the shock as small as we possibly could. Captain Van Kirk, did it shake the B-29 when it exploded? We felt two distinct jolts a short time after dropping the bomb. They felt like close bursts of flak. What could you see below after the detonation? I saw a very large white mushroom-shaped cloud which reached to our altitude. Hanging low over the target was a thick cloud of boiling black dust which covered the entire city with the exception of the dock area. Colonel Tibbets, have you seen any reconnaissance photos since the strike? Yes, I have seen some recent post-strike photos. Well, in general, sir, what do they show? Well, in general, they show that the city of Hiroshima has taken a terrible beating. Well, can you tell us approximately how much of the city was destroyed? Well, more or less of a personal guess on that, I would say that over half of the city is totally destroyed. Well, what kind of a reception did the crew receive upon your return to base? Well, everybody was most happy and most relieved that the first bomb of its type had been released, and there was quite a lot of hilarity on the part of everyone concerned. Colonel Tibbets, the last question, is it your plan to continue attacks with these new bombs? Well, plans are entirely up to strategic air forces, but whatever they plan or wherever they want the bombs delivered, we'll take them.
Thank you, Colonel Tibbets and Brigadier General Thomas F. Farrell in the Marianas. We return you now to New York.
Even in the beginning, air power was an Allied operation. In the early days of their cadet training, American flyers marched to a song borrowed from the British. Now at airfields in far-off places all over the world, flying men still cling to the nostalgic memory of Sixpence.
I've got sixpence, jolly, jolly sixpence. I've got sixpence to last me all my life. I've got 2 pence to spend and 2 pence to lend. 2 pence to send home to my wife. No care have I to greet me. No pretty little girl to deceive me. Happy as a king, believe me, as we go rolling, rolling home. Rolling home, rolling home, by the light of the silvery moon. Happy is the day when the airman gets his pay, as we go rolling, rolling home. All my life, I've got 2 pence to spend and 2 pence to lend, and no
of the men who have contributed much toward hastening the day of Japan's surrender are the flight engineers on our B-29. The flight engineer is a crewman respected by his mates as a doctor who can diagnose and remedy the mechanical ailments of their giant bomber. To meet a B-29 flight engineer and to learn his importance to the bomber team, Army wire recorder switches now to a super fortress returning to the Marianas from one of the last missions flown against Japan. Over.
One of the most important men behind the scenes in the successful operation of a superfortress is the flight engineer. On this plane, he is Master Sergeant Bill Long of Reading, Pennsylvania. Sergeant Long, would you tell us something about your job?
Well, my job, I have to, before flight, take care of pre-flighting the engines and the airplaning to make sure that they're ready for that long mission. In flight, my most important job is, I guess, to keep a constant watch on the instruments and make minor adjustments with the electrical switches and so forth that I have on my panel to keep the engines operating within their limits. Also, I keep an accurate and constant check on fuel consumption so that at any minute I can tell the pilot just exactly how much fuel we have used and how much we have left to return to the base.
About how much fuel, that is gasoline itself, does each engine consume on one of these missions against Japan?
Well, each one of them consumes about 1,300 gallons. Each engine is about 1,300 gallons for the entire flight. That makes a total of approximately 5,500 gallons for the average mission.
That means a lot of A coupons for somebody on one mission. Multiply that by the amount of superforts that hit the Japanese homeland each week to get an idea where a lot of the gasoline is going. I believe your type of job on this B-29 is the only airplane that makes a set specific job for a flight engineer insofar as having a panel of his own. Is that right?
That's right.
Also, on takeoffs, I hear you calling out the takeoff speed, that is, insofar as the rate of miles per hour the plane is traveling down the runway. Why is that?
Well, that's to inform the pilot and the rest of the crew at what speed we are approaching the takeoff run. In other words, to tell them that we're approaching the speed where we can leave the ground.
And here in your particular booth here, your compartment, you can have a full view of all four engines, and you watch them constantly. Supposing something went wrong with one of them right now or any time in flight, what would be your procedure then?
Well, the first thing I would do is notify the pilot so that he's aware of the situation. Then I would take whatever corrective action I could to remedy the situation, making adjustment with the cowl flap switches or mixture controls, depending upon what the difficulty was.
Sergeant Long, would you tell us approximately how many dials, instruments, switches, and so on that you have to watch and be constantly aware of?
Well, I'd say there are about 30 indicators, and most of them are dual indicators since each indicator has the dial for two engines. And as for the switches, there are just about as many switches, if not a few more.
Thank you very much, Flight Engineer Master Sergeant Bill Long. We've been speaking to you from the flight deck of a B-29 on a return mission from the Japanese homeland.
Life on an island airbase can't exactly be compared to that of a modern American city. That's why our airmen spend their leisure hours attempting to make island living more comfortable. The inventive American mind and deft hands fashion useful devices from the scraps of war to better a rugged existence. On one of our islands in the Pacific is an example of such Yankee ingenuity in the form of a wind-powered mechanical laundry. Over.
We set our wire recorder up today in the wind power mechanical laundry on the main floor here at Tinian. The proprietor of this particular laundry is PFC James J. Blackie Mansuetti of Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. Blackie, what outfit are you in?
I'm from a certain service group with the 58th Bombardment Wing of the 20th Air Force.
All right. Now that we have established the locale of your position here, tell us something about your wind-driven, wind-powered mechanical laundry.
Well, just like an ordinary windmill, instead of pumping water, it just bounces the clothes up and down a barrel.
What's the barrel? Where did you get it?
That's an old bomb drum I got dumped.
And would you tell us something about the windmill itself?
Well, it just has about 12 props on it, just like an airplane. The wind's kind of strong out this way, and it turns the fan around, which in turn has a plunger that bounces the clothes up and down.
Where did you get the drive shaft?
That's an old piece of iron rod I found or picked up around here.
Does this particular washing machine give you dish stand hands? CSC?
Yeah, it kind of does. For the GI soup I use this kind of stuff.
How about the length of time it takes to wash clothes?
About an hour and a half, providing you use hot water, which I use, heat it up with fire and so forth.
And how about the tattletale gray of the clothes themselves?
Well, it's not as good as the laundry back in the States, but it'll do for us boys out here.
Could you tell us something about the horsepower of this particular washing machine?
Well, that's about 20 revolutions per minute.
And when you get ready to drain all this water out that you've been using, just what type of drain do you use?
Oh, we have a little ditch in the ground and just throw it in.
Just toss the barrel over.
That's right.
Just toss the barrel over.
That's right.
Just toss the barrel over.
That's right.
I'd like to have you listen to the actual mechanical sound of this wind power mechanical laundry. Thanks to you, PSC James J. Blanky Mansuetti, for telling us about your wind power mechanical laundry and its operation. This is your AAF combat reporter speaking to you from Tinian in the Marianas and returning you to the United States.
United we march to victory. United we shall keep the peace of the world. Tonight our Russian allies are sweeping through Manchuria to speed the day, and the jagged peaks are echoing the strains of a familiar battle song, the Red Cavalry March. This week, a hero fell in our ranks. The Army Air Force's ace of aces, Major Richard Ira Bong. Age 24, from Poplar, Wisconsin. A town you probably never heard of till a P-38 Lightning fighter blazed its name in white-hot lead across South Pacific skies. Poplar, Wisconsin, population 461, sent 64 of her sons to war. One of them was Richard Ira Bong, a stocky farm boy who was first to crack Captain Eddie Rickenbacker's record of the last war. Dick Bong, a sandlot ball player who shot 40 enemy planes from the sky. Dick Bong, clear-eyed youngster with puffy red cheeks and turned-up nose, who was to become the Army Air Force's ranking ace of World War II. Tonight, Dick Bong is no longer with us. He leads a great formation of other brave airmen into the infinite. Flyers who gave their lives so that the Army Air Forces might spread strong protective wings around the world. Perhaps the person most fitted to pay tribute to his achievement in this war is the man who attained a similar position in World War I. Captain Eddie Rickenbacker. Here with us tonight is Captain Eddie in person.
In thinking of Major Richard Bong, I find it impossible to regard him in the narrow aspect of an individual. When I think of Dick as a friend who is no longer with us, he ceases to be just one man who died. Instead, he becomes every American whose road to war was a one-way street to the supreme sacrifice. And when I think of his mother, wife, and father, my heart goes out to them because, to me, they represent at this moment every American family that has helped to buy victory with the precious life of a father, husband, or son. You see, to me, Major Bong, like every American who has met his death in this war, is an example of the tragic and terrible price we must pay to maintain principles of human rights of greater value than life itself. We cannot mourn the death of one without mourning the death of all. Richard Bong, by virtue of his courage and skill as a flying fighter, attained a truly heroic stature that will remain an everlasting inspiration. But this gallant Army Air Force hero who wrote his name in the skies with blazing guns will also be remembered because he made his final contribution to aviation in the dangerous role of test pilot of an untried experimental plane, a deed that places him among the stout-hearted pioneers who gave their lives in man's conquest of sky and space.
Thank you, Captain Eddie Rickenbacker. On the
brink of victory, humbly we bow our heads and raise our voices in a pilot's hymn.
From the sons of the air, oh, take us to their what our love made us weep. Almighty our strife, lead them thus side by side. Leave us not to vain glorious in pride unconcealed, but in thy love, great keep us safe from all harm. Give strength to our ranks. Make evil foes our ease. Then after the fray, lead us straight on our way. Forever victorious, with thy potent shield. And in thy love, great pilot of all, ever guide us and save us. Home to thy
And so ends the 21st edition of the Fighting AAF, an official military operation of the Army Air Forces. Next week, over most of these stations, AAF teams operating at air bases around the world will again bring you fresh and first-hand news of our men in the AAF. This is the American Broadcasting Company. To guard the victory, to keep the peace, the mission of your AAF. In cooperation with the American Broadcasting Company, your Army Air Forces from air bases around the world present the continuing story of America's AAF. This program is an official military operation of the Army Air Forces and is brought to you for contact with our airmen overseas. Tonight we take you to
Paris to attend a GI University for American airmen overseas.
New York City to meet the editor-in-chief of this month's magazine.
Boca Raton, Florida, for an inside picture of how night fighters use radar.
And as always, we bring you the all-soldier orchestra and singing voices of the AAF.
First away, it's a musical salute to one of our allies.
The tough, jungle-conquering Australians who corralled the enemy in Borneo, New Guinea, and the Solomons. Their marching song, Waltzing Matilda.
Swagman stand by a billabong under the shade of a coolibah tree, and he sang as he watched and waited till his Billy was through. Come a waltzing Matilda with me, waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me, and he sang as he watched and waited till his Billy was through. Come a waltzing Matilda with me.
This week, as peace came to the world, the Allies lifted the veil of wartime secrecy on radar, a scientific development in electronics that gives our fighting men a sixth sense in battle. Radar enables our airmen to bomb targets obscured by clouds or darkness. Radar warns us of the enemy's approach by sea and air. Radar gives vision to our night fighters as they creep unseen upon enemy planes and ships. To give you a picture of how radar works, and to show the split-second timing that exists between radar teams, we have set up our wire recorder in a radar training station at Boca Raton Army Airfield, Florida. Over.
This is your AAF reporter, Sergeant Jack Lescoulie, speaking from Boca Raton Army Airfield in Florida. This field, commanded by Brigadier General Michael F. Davis, is the Army Air Force's largest radar training station. Radar, the cabalistic word whose meaning is life to American airmen and death to our enemies in the air, on the ground, and on the sea. This week, after years of secrecy, some of the facts of radar have been revealed at this training command installation. The story of the night fighter plane tracking down enemy aircraft for the kill through the use of radar has now been told. But the amazing relationship of radar operator to pilot and this blind flight team has until now been known only to airmen. To bring you the voices of one of these teams under night fighter training conditions, we have set up our wire recorder beside the training device which accurately simulates combat operations. Lieutenant Jack L. Freed of New York City, instructor, will track down an enemy plane whose maneuvers are controlled from behind the panel which obscures it from his sight. Lieutenant Herbert Schwartzman, also of New York City, will be his pilot, blindly obeying his instructions until Lieutenant Freed has brought the enemy plane into visual range. Two mechanical devices on wheels, known as crabs, simulate the two planes. And as they start to move, let's pick up Lieutenant Freed's voice reeling off instructions as he stares at the fine green lines moving across his radar scope.
Contact. Turn port. Turning port. We're moving over to port side. Line ourselves over the target at the 8,000 foot mark. Steady on the turn. Steady, Eddie. Got the target out there at 8,000 foot now in a dead ahead position and 10 degrees above us. 10 degrees above us. Looks good from here now as we come on down from a increased speed 20. Increasing 20. And we'll give us our speed of closure. We'll bring it up nicely now. It comes on down to 7,000 foot. Still in a dead ahead position. No evasive action at the present time. Turn gently starboard. Gently starboard. Turn harder starboard. Harder yet. Hard as moving over to starboard side. Harder yet. Harder yet. Hard as possible. Hard as possible. That'll do it. The target is racking over the starboard side. We've established the rate of turn and moving right around with them. Coming on over the start. Ease off on it. Easing off. Ease off again. Easing off. And steady it up. Steady. And turn gently port. Gently port. That'll be our counter turn. And moving over to port now. Steady on it. Steady. That'll bring him into 7,000 feet right smack in a dead-end position. Still 15 degrees above us. He moved up 5 degrees. Up gently 200. Going up 200. Roger on that. Call out when you're level. We got him now moving on down to 6,000 feet. Established a rate of speed and closure 20 miles an hour. Coming on down very nicely now. No trouble at all. No indication the target knows where we are. He's moving on down. 200 level. Roger on that. We got that level in there now. We got him back down to 10 degrees above us. That's where we want him for the closure. Get him on our final 10 above us, and we've got him. He's still in a dead-head position, moving on down to 5,000 feet. Still no evasive action. We know where he is. Coming in now. He's dropping on down now very rapidly. Throttle back 10. Throttling back 1-0. Roger. Target dropped on down to 4,000, moved on down to 3,000, and still in a dead-ahead position at 10 degrees above us.
Speed set.
Roger on the speed set. That's exactly where we want. A right smack out in front of us. And now we go into our final approach. A close in for the kill. We got a target right smack out in front of us now. No trouble at all as he drops on down to 2,000 feet. Coming in on our final approach, start looking out and up. He is coming on down to 2,000 now. Moving out to 1,500, 1,400, 1,300. Coming in very nicely, still dead ahead. Turn down port. Moving over to port. We come out of this on a steady. He'll be right smack out in front of you. Steady on it. Steady, Eddie. That'll bring him right back into a dead ahead position right down there now at the 1,100-foot mark. Moving on down to 1,000 feet. He is still 10 above us. That looks like it's going to do it. Start looking out and up. Closing right in on him. He doesn't know where we are. We know exactly where he is. Right smack out in front of us. Moving on down 900 feet. Do you see him?
No joy.
No joy. Roger on that. No joy. Coming on down to 800. Moving down to 700. Now 500. You can touch him. He's right smack out in front of him. Let's get him. Do you see him?
Tally-ho. He's right outside the windshield, boy.
That is what you might hear on the intercom of any American night fighter in action anywhere in the world. Thank you, Lieutenant Jack L. Freed, and thanks to you, Lieutenant Herbert Schwartzman, for this demonstration. This is your AAF reporter on Boca Raton Field, Florida, returning you to the Fighting AAF.
While the terrible memories of war grow dim with the years, many pleasant recollections will linger with millions of American soldiers. Such memories as the beauty of April in Paris. For many months you have listened each week to the Fighting AAF, bringing you eyewitness accounts of combat from the air fronts beyond the battlefields. Tonight marks a milestone in this program, for the fighting is done. Our program will continue, however, but this phase of our mission has been completed. This week, the Association for the Promotion of International Understanding has acclaimed the AAF program as the most original in theme to come out of the war. It is our privilege at this time to present the Executive Secretary of the Association for International Understanding and Editor-in-Chief of this month's magazine, Mrs. Ada Siegel.
The editors of the magazine this month deemed the Fighting AAF the best and most original radio program to come to the network since the beginning of World War II. It has succeeded in giving those of us at home a glimpse of the reality of the struggle now completed. And I am most happy, Major Frederick Brisson, to present to you this plaque in appreciation of the outstanding achievement of General H.H. Arnold's The Fighting AAF.
Thank you, Mrs. Siegel. It is an honor to accept this award on behalf of General of the Army H.H. Arnold, Commanding General of the Army Air Forces. But credit for winning the award must go to the many officers and men who have worked to make the program possible. Typical of them is the AAF correspondent who reported our B-29 missions over Japan. A winner of the Air Medal has just been flown back from the Pacific and is waiting now to speak to us from San Francisco. Come in, Sergeant Hal Brown.
If any of our other combat reporters were here tonight, they would say the same thing. The talk should not be of the job we have done, but the job done by the crewmen who flew and fought our planes overseas. It was a privilege for us to fly along with them and report their courage in the face of danger. It was a privilege to see firsthand the kind of men who make America.
Thank you, Technical Sergeant Hal Brown. We return you now to New York.
His walk is jaunty and there is joy in his song. For this time it will be forever when Johnny comes marching home.
Hooray, 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 hooray. Hooray, 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 hooray. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. The people are gonna gather round from near and far. The ladies' hearts will be in a whirl, wind up stealing the sergeant's girl, and they'll carry on when Johnny comes marching home. When Johnny comes marching home. Johnny, 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 Johnny. Johnny, 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 Johnny. Hear the bugles play. Comes a happy day. Gonna be a jubilee when Johnny comes marching to you and me. Hooray! Johnny's away, but he'll soon be back. Well, hooray! Well, hurrah! Hooray! 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 Oh, Johnny soon will be back. Joy for you and me. There will be you wait, and you'll see. Then the world will be free. We'll be free. Such a great jubilee there will be. When Johnny comes marching home again, hooray, hip, hip, hooray. We'll be giving him such a welcome then. Hooray, hooray, where's the medal for bravery? You weren't out for the crowd to see. All feel gay when Johnny comes marching home, when Johnny comes marching home. Hooray, hip hooray, when Johnny comes marching home.
Johnny has started home from the air fronts all over the world. Bringing him home will not be an overnight task, but meanwhile, he is not forgotten. The Army Air Forces provide both recreation and education for the men who must, temporarily, remain overseas. In GI universities, college credits may be acquired for courses in almost every subject. In the Pacific, these GI classrooms are often out of doors on island beaches. But in Europe, the leading universities of the world provide background for our soldiers' education. To visit one of these universities overseas, AAF wire recorder moves now to the Sorbonne, Paris. Over.
This is your AAF reporter, Captain Howard Finch, speaking from Paris. Today, throughout most of the European continent, school bells are ringing for G.I. Joe and Jane. And some 200,000 of your soldiers are answering those bells. Yes, they're going to school, taking advantage of the Army's recently inaugurated gigantic educational program instituted in Europe by the United States Army Information and Education Division. We're visiting today one of the world's most famous halls of knowledge, the Sorbonne in Paris. This historic university in the Latin Quarter on the left bank of the Seine is rich in educational tradition. And for the first time in history, its long corridors echo with the hurrying tread of Army brogans. For here, your soldier is studying such subjects as French history, sociology, and many others. And what's more, he's really enjoying the benefits to be derived from higher learning. This morning in this typical Sorbonne classroom, a group of Army Air Forces men are starting a course in the French language. Their instructress is Madame Moussou. And we're going to eavesdrop for a moment and see how they're progressing as one student gets ready for an initial recitation.
Ah, bonjour, madame.
Bonjour, lieutenant Gilson. Qu'est-ce que vous avez préparé aujourd'hui comme littérature?
Oh, j'ai préparé La mort du loup, d'Alfred Vigny.
But now tell me, the student, incidentally, was Lieutenant James H. Jellison, lead bombardier with the 94th Bombardment Group of the 8th Air Force. His hometown is Chicago, Illinois. Madame, how did he do? I mean, how was his recitation this morning?
Vous avez fort bien récité ces morceaux, et vous devez continuer à apprendre par cœur quelques poésies françaises.
Did she say it was very good? Very good indeed. Thanks a lot. But you know, this class and this classroom represents just an infinitesimal part of the information and education program now in full assembly in the ETO. But we're going into the next room to let men who are qualified to tell you more about this program come to the microphone. First, the Chief of the Information and Education Division, Brigadier General Paul W. Thompson of Alliance, Nebraska. General Thompson.
The incident which has just taken place at the Sorbonne typifies one phase of our Army education program, a phase which we call training within civilian agencies. Instead of the Sorbonne, we could have taken you to Oxford, or Cambridge, or Nancy, or Grenoble. Or we could have taken you to one of the Army's own universities. We have two of them, one in operation now and one about to open. Each has an enrollment of 4,000 soldier students. The courses are 2 months long, and the instructors are top-notchers drawn chiefly from American universities. Biggest of all, at least biggest as measured in the numbers of soldier students affected, we have throughout the theater hundreds and hundreds of schools established by and maintained by the units themselves. We call these command schools. To support them, we have trained thousands of officers in a special staff school here in Paris, and we have distributed millions of textbooks. The units run the schools themselves, providing their own instructors, classrooms, equipment. We have here an officer who can tell us of a case in point. He is Captain John Reagan, an Air Force officer from Waterbury, Connecticut. Captain, where do your classes assemble near Nuremberg?
We're using a wooden barracks formerly used by the Germans, sir. Not
very pretentious, but it's in a rustic setting and serves our group, 368 Fighter Group of the 9th Air Force, very well.
So, a rustic setting. That should give the boys an idea of the kind of country schools their grandfathers attended.
Thank you again, sir, and I'm sure that thousands of Air Force's men, as well as those of every branch, will be better equipped for future life as a result of your fine educational program. General Thompson, like the soldiers attending his schools, fought in the war in Europe and was wounded on D-Day at Omaha Beach. This is your AAF reporter returning you now to the United States.
Songs of war are fading into oblivion now, and our victorious armies are marching home to music they know and cherish. Cheerful music like Meet Me in St. Louis. Proclamation of the President, today was set aside as a day of prayer to mark the end of fighting in this war. In churches of every denomination throughout the land, Americans gathered to give thanks. Tonight also, soldiers of our AAF gather solemnly in strange and far-off places that so little while ago were battlefields. gather in sober reflection on the tragic days just past and in contemplation of the world ahead. Their prayers, multifarious, murmur awkwardly from lips still numb with pain and fear. They whisper on tropic winds that echo fervently across the world until the many voices become one. The many prayers, a single soldier's prayer for the hope of tomorrow.
God, make it real. Make it last. Not just for us, but for those who won't come back, for those who fell in alien skies. Make it a better world they died for. A world without fear, without hate, without prejudice, where black men and red and yellow and white can live together in dignity, free, with their faces in the sun and their heads high, proud in the brotherhood of man. Please, God, let there be an end to suffering, and let there be peace for our children.
This program has been an official military operation of the Army Air Forces. Next week over most of these stations, AAF teams operating at air bases around the world will again bring you fresh and first-hand news of the future of air power and the men in the AAF. This program has been brought to you as one of a series of service programs entitled Time for Americans, presented by the American Broadcasting Company in the belief that never did so many need to know so much. This is the American Broadcasting Company.